Good and fair evening, denizens of the tavern. Welcome back for story time. It is going to be an absolutely wonderful evening, as it always is, amongst the kindred of the tavern. Let's see, it's over a total of 6 hours round trip to take the oldest to Farouk Canals. I'm so tired of being in the car, and I have to do it again in 2 weeks. Ugh. Yeah, that's dreadful. Um, the last 3 weeks or so, we've had a lot of driving ourselves, and I don't mind a trip every now and again. Like a trip every now and again, if there's purpose to it, I can manage, and that's fine. I don't like being in the car all the time. It feels constraining, especially since most cars feel small for me because I'm so wide. I'm going to be right back finishing with the Green Bird, then I will be back. I'm on my last two lessons of the day, other than tired, I can't complain much today. Well, that's a good day then. Teresa, hello. Tonks, hello. Good to see you, old friends. Welcome in. Jessica, hello. Welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. We are on chapter 5 of Harry Potter Book 6. When we last left off in chapter 4, they had just recruited a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and now Professor Slughorn, who is an old comrade of Dumbledore's and the former head of Slytherin House. The bear has entered. Hello, bear. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. And Harry has mixed feelings about him. We do it again in another 2 weeks of. We do it again for the other two in of 4 in 2 weeks. Then again 2 weeks after that for the yearly cleaning. Then again 2 weeks later for the final permanent caps on the canals. That's a lot. Potions, not defense against the dark arts. Well, Slughorn is defense against the dark arts. Snape is potions, but Slughorn is the defense against the dark arts and former head of Slytherin House. Before we get running, friends, over on Twitch, I'm going to give you guys your 3-minute dose of advertisements so that you can have an hour without them. And then we will fire up. I'm going to give everybody another 3 minutes or so to get in here for stories, and then we're going to pick right up into chapter 5. Yeah, that's a lot of driving. One of the one of the only downsides to living in the country is the having to go so far. And I was almost hit by a box truck on the highway today, so it's been an adventure. Sounds like a hell of an adventure. Bear, are you spoiling things? Does Slughorn get the potions, and then Snape becomes Defense Against the Dark Arts? Is that what happens? Ashley, hello, love. Good to see you. Welcome in. Looks like a bunch of the barmaids and barmen are showing up for work tonight. It's good to see you all. Welcome in. Well, I guess we don't have to read the chapters now. Bear ruined it for everybody, so we can just all go home. Esther, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. It's alright. It's alright. I mean, hey, you guys put in the hours, Destiny. You guys help keep everybody entertained and safe while my head is down, so it's alright, Bear. I'm just messing with you, brother. I know, as I say, I don't think he is sorry, but it's also alright. Esther says, hello and good evening, Castle. Elsie and I hope you're doing well this evening. I'm doing quite well. It is warm, but it is warm out, but all in all, we're doing quite fine. The lady is across from me, getting some work done. And then after story time tonight, I have a whole lot of filming I have to do to get all caught up on videos, because the last couple of days have been a bit of a roller coaster for getting videos done. I thought it was mentioned all the stories. It might have been. I don't remember it being mentioned, but as far as I know, in the start of the chapter, let's see. He says, we are here to persuade an old colleague of mine to come out of retirement to return to Hogwarts. And Harry says, how can I help with that? You'll find a use. Yeah, I don't see anything about it specifically mentioning what position he's recruiting him for, which is probably intentional, if that ends up being the case, that she has him become the potions master. I read this book back when it came out. I don't remember really any of it. Ty said, hello, hello, good to see you, my friend. Castle, a distinct chill permeates the atmosphere. We are relishing the coolness. I am not particularly fond of the warm weather, nor am I. I prefer it to be cool. Sadly, out here in California, we are often left in the dregs of the heat. So, is what it is. Tyson said, hallo, guten Abend, mein Freundin, wie geht's? Mir ist gut. Ich bin gut, mein Freundin, ich bin gut. Just working away. The lady and I have so many things that we want to get done, and it seems like there's never enough time in the day. But Bear is right. Okay. All right, well, there we go. So we are on to Chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And the chapter's name is actually, interestingly enough, the chapter's title is the same as a name of affection my mother used to use for me. So it is Chapter 5, An Excess of Phlegm. Harry and Dumbledore approached the back door of the burrow, which was surrounded by the familiar litter of old Wellington boots and rusty cauldrons. Harry could hear the soft clucking of sleeping chickens coming from a distant shed. Dumbledore knocked 3 times, and Harry saw sudden movement behind the kitchen window.
Who's there?
Said a nervous voice he recognized as Mrs. Weasley's.
Declare yourself!
It is I, Dumbledore, bringing Harry. The door opened at once, and there stood Mrs. Weasley, short, plump, and wearing an old green dressing gown.
Hello, Harry, dear. Gracious, Albus, you gave me a fright. You said not to expect you before morning.
We were lucky, said Dumbledore, ushering Harry over the threshold. Slughorn proved much more persuadable than I had expected. Harry's doing, of course. Ah, hello, Nymphadora. Harry looked around and saw that Mrs. Weasley was not alone, despite the lateness of the hour. A young witch with a pale, heart-shaped face and a mousy brown hair was sitting at the table, clutching a large mug between her hands.
Oh, hello, Professor,
she said.
Watcher, Harry.
Hi, Tonks. Harry thought she looked drawn, even ill, and there was something forced in her smile. Certainly, her appearance was less colourful than usual, without the customary shade of bubblegum pink hair. Frost, Bethany, hello, hello, welcome in. I'm here, never ready for duty. I'll go now since I've spoiled things. Well, you already spoiled things, so now you have to stay and make up for it by making everybody feel extra excited and welcome about the stories. It's the only option really at this point, Bill. All right.
Oh, I'd better be off.
She said quickly, standing up and pulling her cloak around her shoulders.
Thanks for the tea and sympathy, Molly.
Please, don't leave on my account, said Dumbledore courteously. I cannot stay. I have urgent matters to discuss with Rufus Scrimgeour.
No, I need to get going,
said Tonks, not meeting Dumbledore's eyes.
No. Dear, why not come to dinner the weekend? Remus and Mad Eye are coming. No, really, Molly. I think... Thanks anyway. Good night, everyone.
Tonks hurried past Dumbledore and Harry out into the yard. A few paces beyond the doorstep, she turned on the spot and vanished into thin air. Harry noticed that Mrs. Weasley looked troubled. Well, I shall see you at Hogwarts, Harry, said Dumbledore. Take care of yourself. Molly, your servant. He made Mrs. Weasley a bow and followed Tonks, vanishing at precisely the same spot. Mrs. Weasley closed the door on the empty yard and then steered Harry at the shoulder into a full glow of a lantern on the table to examine his appearance.
Oh, you're like Ron,
she said, looking him up and down.
Both of you. Look as though you've had a stretching jinx put on you. I swear, Ron's grown 4 inches since I last bought him school robes. Are you hungry, Harry?
Yeah, I am, said Harry, suddenly realizing just how hungry he was.
Sit down, dear. I'll knock something up.
Harry sat down. A furry ginger cat with a squashed face jumped onto his knees and settled in there purring.
So Hermione's here?
He asked happily as he tickled Crookshanks behind the ears.
Oh, yes. She arrived day before yesterday,
said Mrs. Weasley, rapping a large iron pot with her wand. It bounced onto the stove with a loud clang and began to bubble at once.
Everyone's in bed, of course. We didn't expect you for hours. But here you are.
She tapped the pot again and it rose into the air. Flew toward Harry and tipped over. Mrs. Weasley slid the bowl neatly beneath it, just in time to catch the thick stream of steaming onion soup.
Bread, dear.
Thanks, Mrs. Weasley. She waved her wand over her shoulder. A loaf of bread and a knife soared gracefully onto the table. As the loaf sliced itself, the soup pot dropped back onto the stove. Mrs. Weasley sat down opposite him.
So, you persuaded Slughorn to take the job?
Harry nodded, his mouth full of hot soup, so full of hot soup he could not speak.
He taught Arthur and me,
said Mrs. Weasley.
He was at Hogwarts for ages. Started around the same time as Dumbledore, I think. Did you like him?
His mouth was full of bread now. Harry shrugged and gave a non-committal jerk of the head.
I know what you mean,
said Mrs. Weasley, nodding wisely.
Of course, he can be charming when he wants to be. But Arthur never liked him much. The ministry's littered with Slughorn's old favourites. He was always good at giving leg up, but never had much time for Arthur. Didn't even seem to think he was enough of a high flyer. Well, that just shows you even Slughorn makes mistakes. I don't know whether Ron told you in any of his letters. It's only just happened, but Arthur's been promoted.
It could not have been more clear that Mrs. Weasley had been bursting to say this. Harry swallowed a large amount of very hot soup and thought he could feel his throat blistering. That's great, he gasped.
You're sweet,
beamed Mrs. Weasley, possibly taking his watering eyes for emotion at the news.
Yes, Rufus Scrimgeour has set up several new officers in response to the present situation. Arthur's leading the Office of the Detection and Confiscation of Counterfeit Defensive Spells and Protective Objects. It's a big job. He's got 10 people reporting to him now.
What exactly?
Well, you see, in all the panic about you-know-who, odd things have been cropping up for sale everywhere. Things that are supposed to guard against you-know-who and Death Eaters. You can imagine the kind of thing, so-called protective potions that are really gravy with a bit of Bobotuba pus added, or instructions for defensive jinxes that actually make your ears fall off.
It seems rather odd and specific. Stephanie, hello, good to see you, welcome back. Currently getting the little kids in bed while the laundry washes. No rest for the wicked, as the saying goes. No rest for the wicked, indeed. I'm so late today. That's all right, Erin. You can't be first every day. All right, where was I?
Well, in the main, the perpetrators are just people like Mundungus Fletcher, who've never done an honest day's work in their lives and are taking advantage of how frightened everybody is. But every now and then, something really nasty turns up. The other day, Arthur confiscated a box of cursed sneakoscopes. They were almost certainly planted by Death Eaters. So you see, it's a very important job. And I tell him every day it's just silly to miss dealing with spark plugs and toasters and all the rest of that muggle rubbish.
Mrs. Weasley ended her speech with a stern look, as if it had been Harry suggesting that it was natural to miss spark plugs. Is, Mr. Weasley still at work? Harry asked.
Yes, he is. Matter of fact, he's a tiny bit late.
She said. He
said he'd be back around midnight.
Harry turned to look at the large clock that was perched awkwardly on top of a pile of sheets in the washing basket at the end of the table. Harry recognized it at once. It had 9 hands, each inscribed with the name of a family member, and usually hung on the Weasley sitting room wall. Though its current position suggested that Mrs. Weasley had taken to carrying it around the house with her. Every single one of its 9 hands was now pointing at mortal peril.
It's been like that for a while now,
said Mrs. Weasley in an unconvincingly casual voice.
Ever since you-know-who came back into the open, I suppose everybody's in mortal danger. Now, I don't think it can be just our family. But I don't know anyone who's got a clock like this, so I can't check. Oh!
With a sudden exclamation, she pointed at the clock's face. Mr. Weasley's hand had switched to travelling.
Oh, he's coming.
And sure enough, a moment later, there was a knock at the back door. Mrs. Weasley jumped up and hurried to it, and with one hand on the doorknob and her face pressed against the wood, she softly called,
Arthur, is it you?
Yes, said Mr. Weasley in a weary voice. But I would say that even if I were a Death Eater, dear, ask the question.
Oh, honestly?
Molly!
All right. What is your dearest ambition?
To find out how airplanes stay up. Mrs. Weasley nodded and turned the doorknob. But apparently Mr. Weasley was holding tight on the other side because the door remained firmly shut. Molly, I've got to ask you your question first.
Arthur, really? This is just silly.
What do you like to call me when we're alone together? Even by the dim light of the lantern, Harry could tell Mrs. Weasley had turned bright red. He himself felt suddenly warm around the ears and neck, and hastily gulped soup, clattering his spoon as loudly as he could against his bowl.
Mollywobbles,
whispered as mortified Mrs. Weasley into the crack at the edge of the door. Correct, said Mr. Weasley. Now you can let me in. Mrs. Weasley opened the door to reveal her husband, a thin, balding, red-haired wizard, wearing horn-rimmed spectacles and a long, dusty travelling cloak.
I still don't see why. We have to go through that every time you come home,
said Mrs. Weasley, still pink in the face as she helped her husband out of his cloak.
I mean, a Death Eater might have forced the answer out of you before impersonating you. I know, dear, but it's ministry procedure, and I have to set an example. Something smells good. Onion soup.
Mr. Weasley turned hopefully in the direction of the table.
Harry! We weren't expecting you until morning.
They shook hands, and Mr. Weasley dropped into the chair beside Harry as Mrs. Weasley set a bowl of soup in front of him too.
Thanks, Molly. It's been a tough night. Some idiots started selling metaphor medals. Just sling them around your neck and you'll be able to change your appearance at will. 100,000 disguises, all for 10 galleons. And what really happened when you put them on? Mostly you just turned a fairly unpleasant orange colour. But a couple of the students have also sprouted tentacle-like warts all over their bodies. As if St. Mungo's didn't already have enough to do already. Sounds like the sort of thing Fred and George would find funny,
said Mrs. Weasley hesitantly.
Are you sure? Oh, of course I am, said Mrs. Weasley. The boys know better than to do anything like that now. Not when people are desperate for protection. So is that why you're late? Metaphor medals? No. We got wind of nasty backfiring jinx down in Elephant and Castle. But lucky, the magical law enforcement squad had it sorted out by the time we got there.
Harry stifled a yawn behind his hand.
Bit,
said an undeceived Mrs. Weasley at once.
I've got Fred and George's room all ready for you. You'll have it to yourself. Why? Are they not... Where are they? Oh, they're in Diagon Alley. Sleeping in their little flat over their joke shop, as they're so busy,
said Mrs. Weasley.
I must say, I didn't approve at first, but they do seem to have a bit of a flair for business. Come on, dear. Your trunk's already in there. Good night, Mr. Weasley,
said Harry, pushing back his chair. Crookshanks leapt lightly from his lap and slunk out of the room.
Night, Harry,
said Mr. Weasley. Harry saw Mrs. Weasley glance at the clock in the washing basket as they left the kitchen. Oh, the hens were once again at mortal peril. Cristalla, hello, and Pistol, hello, long time no see. Good to see you both. Welcome in. Oh, I will absolutely be around until they boot me off.
What?
The boy closed him out, so he wants in. I would love a Weasley clock like that. I think most people, if they had, you like being first. Well, you're still first on the leaderboard, Erin. So you've got that. You've got that for the time being. And we're very glad to have you back in, Cristalla. Your sub finally ran out. Wait, nope, still 8 days left. Do you need a hand opening that?
No. Came over for a kiss.
Oh. Are you sure you don't need a hand opening that?
Maybe.
You look like you're struggling a little bit.
I guess my intuition worked before I did. Thank you.
Oh. Got to take turns at the front of the line. Yeah. Kicks built-in animated emojis are very adorable, actually. They're neat. I think most people, if they had a clock like Mrs. Weasley's, they'd probably obsess over it, you know? They'd have it right in their purview all the time. Okay, let us continue. Fred and George's bedroom was on the second floor. Mrs. Weasley pointed a wand at a lamp on the bedside table, and it ignited at once, bathing the room in a pleasant golden glow. Though a large vase of flowers had been placed on a desk in front of the small window, their perfume could not disguise the lingering smell of what Harry thought was gunpowder. A considerable amount of floor space was devoted to a vast number of unmarked sealed cardboard boxes, amongst which stood Harry's school trunk. The room looked as though it had been used as a temporary warehouse. Hedwig hooted happily at Harry from her perch on top of the large wardrobe, then took off through the window. Harry knew she had been waiting to see him before going hunting. Harry bade Mrs. Weasley good night, put on pajamas, and got into one of the beds. There was something hard inside the pillowcase. He groped inside and pulled out a sticky purple and orange sweet. He recognized it as a puking pasty. Smiling to himself, he rolled over and was instantly asleep. Seconds later, or so it seemed, Harry was awakened by the sound like cannon fire as the door burst open. Sitting bolt upright, he heard a rasp of the curtains being pulled back. The dazzling sunlight seemed to poke him hard in both eyes. Shielding them with one hand, he groped hopelessly for his glasses with the other. What's going on? We didn't know you were here already, said a loud and excited voice, and he received a sharp blow on top of the head.
Run! Don't hit him!
Said a girl's voice reproachfully. Harry's hadn't found his glasses, and he shoved them on, though the light was so bright he could hardly see anyway. A long, looming shadow quivered in front of him for a moment. He blinked, and Ron Weasley came into focus, grinning down at him. All right. Never been better, said Harry, rubbing the top of his head and slumping back into his pillows. You? Not bad, said Ron, pulling over a cardboard box and sitting on it. When did you get here? Mom's only just told us. About 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, the muggles all right. They treat you the same, or treat you okay? Same as usual, said Harry, as Hermione perched herself on the edge of his bed. They didn't talk to me much, but I like it better that way. How are you, Hermione? Is it Jean or Jean? Hello, hello. Nice to see everyone. It's been a while. Won't be in long, but I'm happy to have found you again. Very happy that you have found us as well. Lake Lady, thank you for the heart meat. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Kitty is getting better. Yes, well, Kitty wanted to be in the boys' room. And yeah, it's always, is it Jean or Jean? I do recognize the name, but I don't remember how you like it to be pronounced. Castle, we received our shirt today. They fit beautifully, and we've worn them both all day long. We are very thankful. I'm very thankful that you got them and that you like them. I'm so glad that you enjoyed. Thank you. I'll have to stop in more. Is the first one? Jean. All right, wonderful. Well, it's very good to see you, and I hope that you will stop in some more, whether it's for the stories that we put out normally or whether it's for the story times. It's always good to have you. I'm a little late. What's Bear going on about, and do I want to know? Bear put out some spoilers in the YouTube chat, but that's all right, because we're gonna be hearing about it soon. I'm an anxious person, so I think it would calm me down more than anything. I suppose. See, I find that most people tend to obsess when they have a foreknowledge of something, especially if it's something that they can't change. Today I ran on high hopes. What high hopes did you run on today, Pistol?
Oh, I'm fine,
said Hermione, who was scrutinizing Harry as though he was sickening for something. He thought he knew what was behind this, and as he had no wish to discuss Sirius's death or any other miserable subject at the moment, he said, "What's the time? Have I missed breakfast?" "Don't worry about that. Mum's bringing you up a tray. She reckons you look underfed," Ron said, rolling his eyes. "So what's been going on?" Nothing much. I've just been stuck in my aunt and uncle's, haven't I? Oh, come off it, Ron said. You've been off with Dumbledore. Oh, it wasn't that exciting. He wanted me to help him persuade his old teacher to come out of retirement. His name is Horace Slughorn. Oh, said Ron, looking disappointed. We thought. Hermione flashed a warning look at Ron, and Ron changed tack at top speed. We thought it'd be something like that. You did, said Harry, amused. Yeah, you know. Now Umbridge is left. Obviously, we need a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, don't we? So, what's he like? He looks a bit like a walrus. He used to be head of Slytherin. And, said Harry. Something wrong, Hermione? She was watching him as though she expected strange symptoms to manifest themselves at any moment. She rearranged her features hastily in an unconvincing smile. No, of course not. Did Slughorn seem like he'd be a good teacher? Dunno, said Harry. Can't be worse than Umbridge, though, can he? I know someone who's worse than Umbridge, said a voice from the doorway. Ron's younger sister slouched into the room, looking irritable. Hi, Harry. What's up with you? Ron asked. It's her, said Ginny, plonking herself down on Harry's bed. She's driving me mad. What's she done now? Asked Hermione sympathetically. It's the way she talks to me. Like you'd think I was 3. I know, said Hermione, dropping her voice. She's so full of herself. Harry was astonished to hear Hermione talking about Mrs. Weasley like this, and could not blame Ron for saying angrily, Can you two lay off her for 5 seconds? Oh, that's right, defend her, said Ginny. We all know you can't get enough of her. This seemed an odd comment to make about Ron's mother. Starting to feel that he was missing something, Harry said, Who are you? But his question was answered before he could finish it. The bedroom door flew open, and Harry instinctively yanked the bed covers up to his chin so hard that Hermione and Ginny slid off the bed onto the floor. A young woman was standing in the doorway, a woman of such breathtaking beauty that the room seemed to have become strangely airless. She was tall and willowy, with long blonde hair, and appeared to emanate a faint silvery glow. To complete this vision of perfection, she was carrying a heavily laden breakfast tray. Harry, she said in a throaty voice. It's been too long. My French accent is still terrible. Hang on. That my kids wouldn't turn me into a ref for their fights? Oh, I see. I start wearing black and white stripes for how often we have to ref the boys. WWE turned into timeout. I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you two, but it doesn't get any better as they get older. Certainly doesn't. I mean, our boy is 15 and he still gets rambunctious and picks fights. Although the littlest goes hard. The twin girls, they've been fighting since utero. Yeah, I can only imagine. The youngest doesn't take shites, but I can speak for being the youngest. I was fight ender. Well, the littlest have so much less to lose, you know. They usually have mom and dad on their side because they've got like the picking on thing going on. So, Castle, Johnny informed me last night that not only season 16 of Supernatural, but also 17 is scheduled for release either this year or next sometime. Oh boy. Well, thank you for telling me, Esther. Now I'll know when a disturbance in the Force happens what it is. Could you turn up the volume a smidge? Well, I suppose I could. Turn it up just a smidge. I don't want to blow any eardrums out. Normally I just let them fight it out. No blood or broken bones, I don't care. Which is usually the best way to do it. What is that cliche? You have to learn how to let your children do dangerous things safely? Something like that. And given I've poked at folks who've spoiled in the past, I feel genuinely bad. It's really alright, Bear. Don't worry about it. These books have been out for a very long time. They were very popular. If you had spoiled something from Silverthorn, I might have wagged a finger at you, but because most folk in the tavern probably have never read this book, except for you, Herring, and Spearsy. But Harry Potter, I think everybody's seen the movies. Everybody has read the books. At least the vast majority of everybody. There are some folk who haven't.
It's been out for like 25 years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay to have.
Yeah, a little spoiler that is something very early in the book. I'm not particularly worried about. I'm just poking fun at you. I'd have two, but now the youngest is built like a linebacker, and my oldest is 6 foot. Yeah, you gotta be careful. Imagine the Shining Twins, but with unicorns. That's my girls. Ah, I see, I see. Yeah, I don't genuinely think we could call it a spoiler with Harry Potter Bear. So I feel like most folk except for me probably knew that. We have a bunch of fighters in the tavern. It's true, we do. Castle, are these books old? I've never heard of them. The Harry Potter books are quite old. Now, well, I mean, not terribly old. They're probably 20 years old at this point. The earliest ones came out in the 90s, which, by the way, just in case anybody, we do this all the time, just in case anybody needs to be reminded, the 90s were now 30 years ago. 1995 was 30 years ago. The Magician books, I'm not quite sure how old they are. Bear would actually know better than me. But it looks like this version of Silverthorn was printed in 1985. June of 1985. So this one's even older. This one's 40 years ago. Oh my god, that hurts my soul. Yeah, you really have to think about it. By the way, the older Harry Potter books are older than me. That's wild to say, Erin. Why are you hurting? I was like, why are you coming in here and hurting people intentionally like that? Do you not have any idea how many people you just wounded? Erin just said the oldest Harry Potter books are older than Erin. Meaning we have some tavern community members who the Harry Potter books are older than. See, I was just poking fun at people's mortality. Erin's out here hurting people. All right, let's get back in.
It has been too long.
She swept over the threshold towards him. Mrs. Weasley was revealed, bobbing along in her wake, looking rather cross.
There's no need to bring up the tray. I was about to do it myself. It was no trouble.
Said Fleur Delacour. My French accent is still terrible.
It's something.
Setting the tray across from Harry's knees and then swooping to kiss him on the cheek. He felt the places where her mouth had touched him burn.
I've been...
Hang on. Hang on. Give me a second. My French accent is still terrible, but I think I've got it.
I have been longing to see him. You remember my sister, Gabrielle? She never stops talking about Harry Potter. She will be delighted to see you again.
Oh, is she here too?
No, silly boy.
Said Fleur with a tinkling laugh.
I mean, next summer, do you not know?
Her great blue eyes widened as she looked reproachfully at Mrs. Weasley, who said,
I hadn't gotten around to telling him yet.
Fleur looked back at Harry, swinging her silvery sheet of hair so that it whipped Mrs. Weasley across the face.
Bill and I are going to be married.
Oh, said Harry blankly. He could not help noticing how Mrs. Weasley, Hermione, and Jenny were all determinedly avoiding one another's gazes. Congratulations. She swooped down upon him and kissed him again.
Bill is...
Doing the female accent in another accent makes it damn near impossible. What did Esther say? Castle, I was referring to the Silverthorn book, not Harry Potter. Comments are being made too quickly here. Yeah, so the Silverthorn books are the Silverthorn book is about 40 years old, it seems. And Magician is probably about, I would say, 2 to 5 years older than that. So about 40 years, we'll say. But we were all just children at heart, sitting here listening to stories of the tavern. Darth Nexus, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate you very much. Yeah, 40 plus years. They're quite aged. I mean, when you think about, like, one of the most popular books in the tavern is The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, and you realize that book is 80 years old, it puts it into perspective a little bit how these... Erin just has to twist the dagger. She's like, way older than I am. Magician is almost as old as me. So you're in your 50s, yeah, Bear, so... yeah, that's quite old for a book.
I meant next summer when we...
Oh, hang on.
Bill is very busy at the moment, working very hard, and I only work part-time at Gringotts for my English, so he brought me here for a few days to get to know his family properly. I was so pleased to hear that you would be coming. There is so much to do here. Unless you are... There isn't much to do here. Unless you are cooking and chickens. Unless you like cooking and chickens. Well, enjoy your breakfast, Ari.
I need to work on the French, because we might need French accents later on, so... I'm not even doing the maths on Sherlock and Agatha. Oh my good lord. Yeah, I mean, especially when you start looking at really... I mean, even books like this, you don't realize how old they are, right? Like, Dragon Riders of Pern... not even sure if you're going to be... that says Dragon Quest. But Dragon Riders of Pern, this book... See, the original publishing for this would have been... Oh, good lord. First printing in the US was 1971. That's wild.
Like, it doesn't feel like that long ago.
It doesn't feel like that long ago, but 1971 is... That's 54 years ago? Absolutely insane. 1976. And I think Dragonflight was the first book in the series, yes?
Yes.
1968. Whew. Canadians didn't get until 71, though. I've been rereading the Pern series the last few weeks. Pern is older than me. Yeah. I'm 53, so ouch to all of it. Well, yeah, but not older than Dragon Riders of Pern, though. See? I want to check something real quick. That doesn't seem real either. Good lord. Aragon, you guys are going to hate me for this. Aragon is 23 years old. The Kitsune, you did hear Dragon Riders. We were talking about how old some books are, and some of the ones that I keep near my desk when we are doing story time is we have these really lovely like 80s, 70s, 80s art style versions of the books that are really nice, and I have them the little paperbacks sit beside me. And I also have my complete edition of Lord of the Rings that also sits here behind me with some of the Silmarillion in it and the maps and whatnot, as the professor had intended it to be published. Eragon, as in the Inheritance series, Eragon. I remember when Eragon came out, I was so upset that it was a new author and I had to wait for it. Right, yeah, I remember that too. It was one of the first modern books that I really got invested in. Erin's like, hey, I'm older than Eragon. Finally found one, huh? Yeah. We do have, the lady and I together do have quite the impressive collection of books. As a matter of fact, my desk area is a mess right now because we had so many down here for the readathon that pretty much the entirety of the desk area is just filled up with books. Got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Roald Dahl. Got the Call of the Wild there. Got this really pretty old copy of Peter Pan, which I think that the cover on this is actually a print from one of the old movies, but I'm not sure. And then of course we have the Tales of Beetle the Bard, which we read during the readathon. I have the full Star Wars trilogy here in paperback. Just a whole lot. I have almost enough books to count as a library. I don't think that we're quite there yet.
How many do we need? 1,000?
For what?
The library?
I didn't know that there was a number, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, Kevin told me. I forgot what the number was.
Well, is Mr. Scott Kemian in here to reignite it? Another beloved book, Mask of the Illuminati. That one I have not read. That Peter Pan castle. What? Yeah, the Peter Pan is very nice. Anne McCaffrey is wonderful. Yeah, an underappreciated classic, Kitsune.
I mean...
No, do you prefer Kitsune or Kitsune? Kitsune Nix? Don't let me loose in your library castle. I might not ever leave. Well, hey, look, there's going to be good food, and so on. There is no magic number of books required to call a collection a library. Generally, the term library refers to a collection of books and other materials often organized for a community or group. The American Library Association, for example, suggests around 5,000 books might be needed to make a collection feel like a library, but it's more than the curation and presentation than the exact quantity. Let me go to the central hub for human knowledge, Reddit. Not long ago, maybe last year, the internet decided. So the internet collectively. Well, we can't refute it. The internet collectively decided that 1,000 books made an official library. Can we decide if it has to be a physical library or does it also count as a digital library? Is what the question goes. 1,000, that's a lot of books. It's funny to me that some people in this thread are like, oh, 1,000, that sounds like a lot of books. And other people are like, oh, only 1,000? I have 2 libraries. So... I was 30 minutes late for work today because of reading The Fourth Wing. Got to be careful with that. We have roughly 900-ish right now. Castle, within my literary collection, I hold notable works such as The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Great Expectations, and Oliver Twist. I think we have a good number of those. Most of what's... We tend to lean and prefer more towards high fantasy. So we do have some classics, but the lady and I both prefer high fantasy for much of what we read. Though the lady does like period pieces, and I do like military fiction. So working their way in there are things like The Art of War, The Te Ching, which is not fiction, but it's military. And she also has things from Jane Austen and so on, so it's a pretty widespread there. I have about 1,500 books. It's a bit that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. I think the lady and I together probably have about Probably about 400 books, something of that measure. Not counting digital. I don't count digital. It saddens me to think of all the books I have lost through the years, for all the various reasons. Castle, I have a diverse range of literary preferences. I'm sure you do, Esther. You enjoy quite a variety of things. I have over 1,500 books. I think I have a book sickness. It's the best sickness to have, though. As long as you don't end up like Silvertongue's aunt in Inkheart, where you just hoard them all and then you never go anywhere. I think you'll be fine. Thank you for the hydrate, Bear. I appreciate you, my friend. Okay, let's get back into this. I forgot that Flor Delacour was in this, so I'm gonna have to get back. Because I was practicing my French accents, and then she wasn't in any of the other books, and now I'm not as practiced, so I'm gonna have to do it again. Oh damn, I left Fourth Wing in my car. I have to take it with me to work because I didn't feel like taking the time to put it away. The Great Gatsby is also a good read. Yeah, it's one of my favorites of the classics. Not necessarily for the content, but I think that it was an excellent metaphor for the time.
I have a love-hate relationship with those characters.
The Great Gatsby.
Yes.
Well, and that's why, like, I don't particularly care for the story or the characters. I don't really like them, but I like the narrative as far as what it said about the culture of the time.
Yeah.
I think that is the brilliance of the book. The story itself, most of the characters irritate the hell out of me, and the story as a whole is depressing.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of was good.
yeah.
Like Gatsby's character is tragic but well written.
Crystal, hello, good to see you.
She's obnoxious.
Yeah. Two of my favorites are the Tao of Pooh and the Tea of Piglet.
What?
I don't know that what Crystal just said that over on Facebook, and
The tea of what?
the Tao of Pooh and the Tea of Piglet, like Pooh and Piglet from Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. That's funny.
But it sounds like they're like military books. The Great Gatsby was published in 1925, making it 100 years old as of April 10th, 2025. That's insane. Wait. Frost, are you telling me that the Tao of Pooh and the Tea of Piglet are real? Are those actual books? You guys better not be messing with me. They explain the concepts of...
Oh my god, all these people know about it.
What?
Where have we
They
been?
explain the concepts of Taoism and Taoism? What? Oh, I love the Tao of Pooh and the Tea of Piglet. You guys are...
Well,
Wait,
they're all messing with you.
did you guys like get together? You're like, hey, Castle's always late, so let's mess with him
Oh
today.
my god, it's real.
What? Hang on.
It's real.
Hang on. What?
I can get a used copy from A-Books for $1.31. That's crazy.
What? You guys are... What? Did you guys set this up? This is another thing where you guys are messing with me. See, I normally know about oddities like this. How did this fall beneath my notice for so long? When was this published?
Huh.
I am blown away.
You want to hear us an excerpt?
Oh, this explains why I didn't know about it. It's published in 2019. I haven't really paid attention to anything published in the last 5 years, so that's probably why I didn't realize it. Well, now I need to read it, yeah. Yeah, read me an excerpt.
When you wake up in the morning, Pooh, said Piglet at last, what's the first thing you say to yourself? What's for breakfast? Said Pooh. What do you say, Piglet? I say, I wonder what's going to happen exciting today, said Piglet. Pooh nodded thoughtfully. It's the same thing, he said.
Esther, what you missed is somebody told me that there's a Winnie the Pooh book that explains Taoism. And Taoism, yeah. What? Yeah, much earlier. I read them just out of high school. Okay, well, so somebody said 1982 was when they were. How did I not know about this? Again, normally when there are oddities like this, I've got my finger on them. How did I not know this? You guys taught me something new today. This is a wonderful moment for me. Rarely do I get to learn something new. This is amazing. Nope. Wait. Yeah, apparently there's I guess the originals were published back in the 80s, but there's a combined version of them that was published in 2019. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I've read To Kill a Mockingbird. I think most American...
So Tale of Pooh is 1982. The Tale of Piglet is 1992.
Okay, so they were published 10 years apart in the 80s and the 90s, I see. Yeah, well, that's what Bethany said. It was published in 1982. The combined version of it was published in 2019.
In 2006, Benjamin Hoff denounced the publishing industry and announced his resignation from book writing.
Who's that?
The guy who wrote it.
Is Benjamin Hoff the author of the original Winnie the Pooh books?
No.
Huh. Yeah, because there's a combined version of the both of them on Amazon. The hard copy is $50, but the paperback is $20. And this is a ludicrously lengthy book. It's 432 pages. The Tao Te Ching isn't even that long. I tried to send that sooner, but pop-ups blocked the send button from me. That's alright. That's alright. The Tao of Pooh was published in 1982, Esther. That's wild to me. Read them, they're great books. Well, I'm gonna have to now. My lady has a beautiful voice. Yes, she does. I don't have any complaints about having to listen to it.
Well, I guess I'll pick up a used copy.
It's 432 pages. Which again, like when you think about these kinds of books, they're not usually that long. Like a lot of people think The Art of War is very long. The Art of War is less than 100 pages in most translations. The Book of Five Rings, again, less than 100 pages in most, because things that are Pooh Bear, like Winnie the Pooh, like it's Taoism explained by Winnie the Pooh. And it's actually a part of the Winnie the Pooh book series, not written by the original author. But yeah, apparently as a part of the thing. My mind has been blown. Like I said, I don't normally learn like mind-blowing things because I'm a very curious man. So I'm constantly like looking at things and reading up on things. So I usually have my finger on the pulse of strange and odd things because that's part of my job. I'm a storyteller. Finding insane and strange and interesting things is what I do as a part of my daily life. How Taoism explained by Winnie the Pooh flew under my radar for 40 years. Who knows? Yeah, and I love Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh was one of my mother's favorites. My mother had Eeyore on everything because she thought Eeyore was like the best thing ever. Beatbox, Johnny boy, hello, good to see you, my friend. We're just, the truth knocks on the door and you say, go away, I am looking for the truth, and so it goes away. Another great read. Yeah, I mean now I want to read it. I definitely have to read it now, because I might even, maybe we'll do this for like a special, I don't know, maybe a read aloud series, or maybe I'll read segments of it for shorter videos, or maybe I'll read segments of it for Endless Epic, because I love stuff like this. Falcor, hello. I can't officially come out of Lurk because I'm scurrying around, but I saw the Tower of Pooh at a friend's place back in the 90s, and it was my introduction to Taoism, Lamau. Definitely check it out. Okay, back to Lurk. Thank you very much. It's good to see you, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day and that your scurrying is productive. And I love Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is spectacular. The fourth Harry Potter book is almost 1,000 pages, so 400 something. No, it's true. 400 something is not much, but the reason why it's crazy because, like I said, these old books are typically not that long. The longest one that you'll find is like the Journey to the West, right? The Journey to the West is the longest book from this time period. Most of these old books are like 100 pages at the most. I met Piglet at Disney once and cried as a 3-year-old. Why did you cry? Of course, Falcon, I'm glad that you dropped in. Yeah, this blew me away. Because I have a ton of books on Theism and Taoism, but I have all sorts of philosophy books. How this flew underneath me. Yes, Falcor, like the never-ending story. And actually, let me give Falcor a shout-out. Falcor, the book dragon, or I guess it's Falcor. I've been saying Falcor, so I don't know how accurate that is. But she is another streamer. She's quite lovely. She does ASMR and book reading as we do. So hang on. Let me... give a shout out there. You guys can go and give her a follow. She's quite lovely. We raid her on occasion, and she's wonderful. He was so huge and I was so small, he was terrifying. Oh, I understand. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Johnny Boy. I appreciate you. Okay, let's get back into this. We did not just start, but I was on a bit of a ramble about the Tao of Pooh and the Tay of Piglet. Guys just out here throwing me away. You're saying it right. Pronounced just like the never-ending story. Thank you so much. Oh, my absolute pleasure. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I guess... I think that's how it's also spelled in Never-ending Story, but again, I could be wrong. I am a storyteller, not a philologist. So, we...
Copy of Never-ending Story got ruined by the moment.
That's a bummer. We'll have to get to new ones then. But yeah, I might do some readings of the Tao of Pooh. Because what the ever living hell? Castle, the first collection of stories about the character Winnie the Pooh, dates back to 1926. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh is also incredibly old. Like, that's another thing that is very old. Pooh Bear, I'm happy and simple. Great book. Tower of Piglet is awesome too. Wonderful, Stephanie. I appreciate you guys for recommending me. Because like I said, I don't normally get to learn new things like this. Normally, stuff that I learn is like sort of just like additions to things that I already knew, new details. This I had no idea about. So this is brand new for me. I love it. Funny enough, Piglet was my favorite. I was always a big fan of Owl and Roo. Or Mrs. Roo. Mrs. Kanga, I guess. Kanga and Roo was their names, right? It's been a while since I've watched anything Harry Potter. Excuse my spelling. Don't worry about it. I pronounce it like that too. That was one of my favorite movies as a child. It's one of the ladies' favorites too. She loves that world. Winnie the Pooh is also Canadian. That I didn't know. Is Winnie the Pooh Canadian?
Yeah, that's how I spell it.
Huh? Alright, let's get back into stories. Petra, hi, how are things in the tavern? Crazy, people are blowing my mind. People are coming up with idea guns and putting them to my head and blowing my brains all over the wall. Just found out that there's an entire book on Taoism from Winnie the Pooh. And it's crazy. I never would have thought. Actually, we're at the hour over on Twitch. I'm going to give you guys some ads real quick so that we can have another hour without them, and then we'll pick back up with the reading. So if you don't have a subscription over on Twitch, you're going to see some ads for a minute. For those of you willing to sit through it, I appreciate you. It does help the channel, and I won't read while we're on so that you don't miss anything. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz in the 1900. Was it really? Named after the town of Winnipeg. Right. Hang on. You guys... Now I never know when you guys are messing with me or not.
I never got that deep into the lore of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah. The author was Canadian. Crazy. I never would have guessed. Wait, no, hang on. Winnie the Pooh has a significant Canadian connection. The character was inspired by a real-life black bear cub named Winnie, who was owned by a Canadian soldier, Harry Colburn, during World War One. Colburn named the bear Winnie after his hometown Winnipeg, Manitoba. The bear was brought to England and became a popular attraction at the London Zoo and inspired A.A. Milne's creation of the fictional Winnie the Pooh. Oh, I see. That all makes sense. I think we're all nerds. Everyone in here is a nerd. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. All absolute spazzes in here, to be sure. Hello, Castle, Una, Boy, and Pets. I didn't have to work tonight, so I get to hear stories. Spectacular. I've been waffling for about half an hour, so you missed very little. We're probably about halfway through. 83. Yeah, we still got 10 more pages in the chapter that we're in. So you'll get plenty of Harry Potter tonight, and of course, some Silverthorn before we're all said and done. You should have a package delivery in the next week or so, Castle. Should I? Should I send it back? What is the package? Yeah, I didn't know that about Pooh Bear either. I knew that the story was inspired by the toys of the author's children. I knew that. But I think that's as far as I ever went into it. It's fascinating, though. Castle Bambi, A Life in the Woods, his most famous work, was published in 1923. Interesting. Very interesting. Consider it Mom's birthday gift. So I guess... Oh, it's books. It's books. Wait, hang on. So apparently, Destiny has sent you books for your birthday, love. Yes. There was a real bear from Canada, was the mascot of a vet unit, shipped to England and was in the zoo and beloved by the kids. Her own couldn't see her parted with the kids, and so he and the family came to see her. Interesting. Man. Oh, the tangled webs we weave as humanity. They are some wild characters, we are. Okay, let's continue stories. Now that you guys have sufficiently blown my mind.
I'm glad I didn't order them then. Because I was gonna.
Wait, is there specific kinds of books that...
Yeah, she said the Tale of Pooh and the Tale of Piglet.
Oh, I see.
So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that, then. Had to be super fast. I did run the ad break. They've just started adding the ad bars back in. I don't know why they do that. But yeah, the ad break is done. You guys should not get any ads for another 60 minutes or so. No, I'm gonna obsess about Pooh Bear, yeah. Who knew you were gonna have an entire history lesson on Pooh Bear tonight? Couldn't have even guessed. Couldn't have guessed even if you had asked me and paid me all the money, and never would have guessed that that's how tonight was gonna go. Alright, let us continue, and hopefully I don't have to do any more French tonight. Captain Hoodie is sending you the Pooh and Piglet books. That's very funny. That's very funny. Crystal says, awesome, Destiny. Just out here throwing books at the tavern keepers. Innkeepers? Why did I say innkeepers? The time was during World War One. Yes. You know, it's actually insane to think about how many of the iconic characters we have of today that were made during World War One and World War Two. And it's fascinating to think because some of those iconic characters came about as the need of the people to believe in something greater than themselves. And now you can read snippets on... That's true. Yeah, I'll have to. Adding to the tavern dream, adding an inn. Well, when we build the tavern, the goal is to have an inn as well as some out, or I guess like a longhouse, a communal longhouse that people can stay in as a part of the overall building. Got to contribute to the massive library, and it's getting big. We're gonna have to have the tavern soon in order to do it. But yeah, when we finally get the tavern built, the goal is to be able to have rooms that people can stay in when they come and visit. And we would also like to have a communal longhouse where we can hold events, and then also have like communal sleeping areas for people who want to experience like that cultural aspect of it, like how some of the old longhouses were, the traditional ones, both Irish and Scandinavian longhouses. And then we'd also have other places that people could stay, as well as having, if we get to the point where we can build the village, having artisan buildings there where we can host artists like craftsmen, woodsmen, leather workers, and so on. No problem, I'll come sleep over from the Netherlands to your place. Hey, I mean, you can come and visit, Johnny boy. I don't mind that at all. If I do come to visit the US, you'll be on my list of visits. I certainly hope so. Castle, I was provided with a collection of the Chronicles of Narnia for my birthday. That's spectacular. I have an old paperback set of Chronicles of Narnia somewhere, and then I have an anthology collection that I love quite a bit. Okay, I'm sorry, let's get back to reading. With these words, she turned gracefully and seemed to float out of the room, closing the door quietly behind her. Mrs. Weasley made a noise that sounded like "Tch."
Mum hates her,
said Ginny quietly.
I don't hate her,
said Mrs. Weasley in a cross whisper.
I just think they've hurried this engagement, that's all.
They've known each other over a year, said Ron, who looked oddly groggy and was staring at the closed door.
That's not very long. I know why it's happened, of course. It's all the uncertainty with you-know-who coming back. People think they might die tomorrow, so they're rushing all sorts of decisions they'd normally take time over. It was the same last time he was powerful. People eloping left, right, and centre. Including you and Dad,
said Ginny slyly.
Yes, well, your father and I were made for each other. What was the point in waiting?
Said Mrs. Weasley.
Whereas Bill and Flor, what have they really got in common? He's hard-working, down-to-earth sort of person, whereas she's a cow,
said Ginny, nodding.
But Bill's not that down-to-earth. He's a curse-breaker, isn't he? He likes a bit of adventure and a bit of glamour, I expect. That's why he's gone for phlegm. Stop calling her that, Ginny,
said Mrs. Weasley sharply, as Harry and Hermione laughed.
Well, I better get on. Eat your eggs while they're warm, Harry.
Looking careworn, she left the room. Ron still seemed slightly punch-drunk. He was shaking his head experimentally, like a dog trying to rid its ears of water.
Don't you get used to her if she's staying in the same house?
Harry asked.
Well, you do, said Ron. But she jumps at you unexpectedly like then, well... It's pathetic,
said Hermione furiously, striding away from Ron so far as she could go, and turning to face him with her arms folded once she had reached the wall.
You don't really want her here forever,
Ginny asked Ron incredulously. When he merely shrugged, she said,
Well, Mom's going to put a stop to it if she can. I bet you anything.
"How's she going to manage that?" asked Harry.
Well, she keeps trying to get Tonks round for dinner. I think she's hoping Bill will fall for Tonks instead. I hope he does. I'd much rather have her in the family.
"Yeah, that'll work," said Ron sarcastically. "Listen, no bloke in his right mind's going to fancy Tonks over Fleur when she's around. I mean, Tonks is okay looking when she isn't doing stupid things with her hair and nose, but..."
That is rude.
She's a damn sight nicer than Flem.
said Ginny.
And she's more intelligent. She's an aura,
said Hermione from the corner.
Fla's not stupid. She was good enough to enter the Triwizard Tournament,
said Harry.
Not you as well,
said Hermione bitterly.
Suppose you like the way Flem says, "Ere do you?"
said Ginny scornfully.
No,
said Harry, wishing he hadn't spoken up. "I was just saying, Flem, I mean, Fla,"
I'd much rather have Tonks in the family,
said Ginny.
At least she's a laugh.
"She hasn't been much of a laugh lately," said Ron. "Every time I've seen her, she looks more like Moaning Myrtle." Oop, no, don't do that. Okay.
That's not fair,
said Hermione.
She hasn't got over what happened, you know? I mean, he was her cousin.
Harry's heart sank. They had arrived at Sirius. He picked up a fork and began shoveling scrambled eggs into his mouth, hoping to deflect any invitation to join in this part of the conversation.
Tonks and Sirius barely know each other, said Ron. Sirius was in Azkaban for half her life. Before that, their families never met. That's not the point,
said Hermione.
She thinks it was her fault he died.
How does she work that one out? Said Harry in spite of himself. Upside down Ashley, hello, thank you for the deedies. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. If I win the lottery, I'll give you the money for the tavern. Oh, you're too kind, Stephanie. You guys, we've already won the lottery, if we're being perfectly honest. Having such an incredible community who show up for all of the videos and things that we do, that's better than the lottery in a lot of cases, because if you guys love the things that we do, we can continue to make a living doing those things for a very long time, and really the upward end of that is infinite. So we appreciate. Christo says, I'll gladly rent a room. I believe Curious George was the result of the author escaping Nazi Germany with her story. Eventually she got published under her husband's name. They took her story about George and their bikes to escape his, what I was told, you may know more. I actually don't, but that is something that would be worth looking on. I have 2 Narnia paperbacks. They are beautiful, and I'm afraid to read them to destroy them. I have some books that are like that are so fragile that I can't read them because I don't want to ruin them. Actually, even these copies of The Dragon Riders of Pern, these are old paperbacks, and this one's all right. Like, this is the more new one, but this old Dragonflight one that was published a long time ago, it's very fragile, and I'm afraid to read it because the pages are brittle. So I don't. I keep them here because I like them. I always hated that they called her Phlegm. I now understand the title of the chapter, In Excess of Phlegm. I used to have the majority of the Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms series in paperback some time ago. Also, there was a series called The Thieves Guild. There's so many good books, especially the farther back you go. I took a couple to our local library, and they put the paperback covers on them. The matte plastic protectors. Yeah, well, I have that on the Magician paperback that I have. Calamities, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Tonks is Lupin's girl. Yes. But really, to be perfectly honest, I'm wonderful, Calamitous. How are you, my friend? We're having a good night. The When you do what we do for a living, having so many people who love what you do and who show up for everything, whether it's short videos or long videos or when we put out pictures on Instagram, wherever it is, the Tavern's magic is because all of you desire the stories. So the fact that so many of you guys love what we do, that's what really makes this, I would say, better than any amount of money you could win in the lottery. Not that I would turn down a lottery win. I'm just saying. You guys are absolutely spectacular, and we love that we get to do what we do. I just thought of a book suitable for your early evening segments. Yeah, what do you got?
It is insane how much some of these old Last Unicorn books are going for.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. How does she work that one out? Asked Harry in spite of himself.
Well, she was fighting Bellatrix Lestrange, wasn't she? She feels that if only she had finished her off, Bellatrix wouldn't have killed Sirius.
That's stupid, said Ron.
It's survivor's guilt,
said Hermione.
I know Lupin's tried to talk her round, but she's still really down. She's actually having trouble with her metamorphosing.
With her,
She can't change her appearance like she used to,
explained Hermione.
I think her powers must have been affected by shock or something.
I didn't know that could happen, said Harry.
Nor did I,
said Hermione.
but I suppose if you're really depressed...
The door opened again, and Mrs. Weasley popped her head in.
Ginny,
She whispered,
come downstairs and help me with lunch. I'm talking with this lot.
said Ginny, outraged.
No!
Said Mrs. Weasley, and withdrew.
She only wants me down there so she doesn't have to be alone with Flem.
Said Ginny crossly. She swung her long red hair around in a very good imitation of Fleur and pranced across the room with her arms held aloft like a ballerina.
You lot had better come down quickly too,
she said as she left. Harry took advantage of the temporary silence to eat more breakfast. Hermione was peering into Fred and George's boxes, though every now and then she cast sideways looks at Harry. Ron, who was now helping himself to Harry's toast, was still gazing dreamily at the door.
What is this?
Hermione asked eventually, holding up what looked like a small telescope. Dunno, said Ron. But if Fred and George left it here, it's probably not ready for their joke shop yet, so be careful. Your mum said the shop's going well, said Harry. So Fred and George have got a real flair for business. That's an understatement, said Ron. They're raking in the galleons. I can't wait to see the place. We haven't been to Diagon Alley yet, because Mum and Dad says got to be extra security, and he's been real busy at work. But it sounds excellent. And what about Percy? Said Harry. The third eldest Weasley brother had fallen out with the rest of the family. Is he talking to your mom and dad again? No, said Ron. But he knows your dad was right all along about Voldemort being back.
Dumbledore says people find it far easier to forgive others for being wrong than for being right.
That's true. That's a hell of a truth right there. Yeah. Oh my god. People will forgive you for being wrong. But if you are right and they're wrong, it is one of the most difficult hits to the human ego to have to admit that you were wrong. It is one of the people will never forgive you for being right. Or correct. Yeah. It is one of the most difficult things for most human beings to do. If you are adamant, if you are hard-nosed on something, and you're correct, and the other person was just as hard-nosed and it turns out that they're wrong, I have seen so many relationships, especially familial relationships, murdered on that sacrificial stone. And it's pride. Well, that's really what it is. In the modern day, we all think we are very, very smart. We all think we're well informed. We all think we're intelligent. We all think we're morally superior because the internet and the massive information and the moralizing that goes on all the time makes us feel that way. So when it turns out that we're not right, well, it's basically like somebody told us our God was dead. Pride goes before the fall. It really does. I just thought of a book. It's a cross between retro and futuristic. It's called Wild Jack. Let me plug that in up here so that I will be able to look at it after we get off story time. It's along the same line as accepting a compliment. Yeah, to the far extreme, right? I read it at the same time as when I was reading the Chronicles of Narnia. Interesting, Calamitous. Thank you for the recommendation. I appreciate it. They need to empty their cup to give it more room for learning. True enough. I love that you remember us, even when some of us hide under a rock for months on it. The lady and I, like I said, the lady and I love that we get to do this for work. And like I said, by the end of the year, we will probably be doing this full time if things keep growing at the rate that they're going. And we are incredibly grateful for that. And that magical thing, that whimsy of getting to run the tavern full time, that's because of all of you. And I can't help but be grateful. And for those of you who show up here and you're always excited and you love to see what we do, I can't imagine not remembering you guys. And I'm terrible with names, so if I'm remembering you, that's... It's because it's bonded with such happy moments for the lady and I. And it does take me some time to remember some of you. I'm not going to lie. Some people change their names a lot, and then it's hard for me to keep up. But I wish we had better ways to have the dismount from being wrong. Like, it should be acceptable to be wrong. Well, and this is the problem as society. This is why I say it's pride, because what will end up happening is. So here's. I've talked about tradition in my family for a long time. But one of the things that we learn very young is that we are supposed to win and lose gracefully, right? If somebody loses, you are graceful to them and you assist them. That's the hand up when you've beat somebody in a fight, right? And when you it's the handshake at the end of a game, right? It is the salute at the end of a joust. It is the mutual respect for other human beings. We live in an age where everything is so moralized, we don't respect people who disagree with us. And because we don't respect people who disagree with us, every disagreement feels like disrespect. And that feeling is spread all the way across the board. Virtually no one is exempt from it. So what ends up happening is that when it turns out that we are wrong, it actually then galvanizes us against the people who were right, even though we were wrong, because then we feel like they have moralized against us, that they have then become diametrically opposed to what we believe, and then those beliefs then take on dogma rather than being something that is correct or necessary for us. So it has built this environment where you can be wrong about something, but then rather than being forgiven and given the opportunity to grow from being wrong, everybody will condemn you for having been wrong and try to ruin your life in some instances for being wrong. So admitting that you're wrong has no up-nose, it has no upturn to it. It's just, if I have to admit that I was wrong, then I also have to deal with being ostracized and ridiculed for having been wrong, rather than being given the opportunity to learn how to become right. And so the whole environment around intellectualism now is so violent and so dogmatic and so polarized that it's virtually impossible for people to be able to admit when they're wrong, because there's no benefit to admitting to being wrong. I've been on the receiving end of someone else realizing I was right and I never rubbed it in. And Ashley said, I apologize. I had to reply to a school email. I'm back. That's all right. That's all right. Take your time, whatever you have to do. I want that so much for you and the lady. I appreciate you, Stephanie. That's very kind. And it feels like being wrong somehow reflects on your whole identity. Right. We live in an age that divides us. Yeah, and that's really what it is. We feel smart because of the landslide of information on the internet, but the sad fact is, the only difference as a species we have between now and 1,000 years ago is information overload. Morally, I have difficulty believing we are significantly different than we were in the Ice Age. Well, actually, if you really look at the way that people are more indulgent now than they probably were thousands of years ago. And why? Because if you were indulgent thousands of years ago, it meant death. Now we can be more indulgent and more reactive and more reliant on our animal instincts, our base desires, than we ever have been. People get addicted to things far more easily. People become far more invested into the things that just give us like the dopamine hits, right? That make us feel good. Even though if we were to do these same things thousands of years ago, it would mean our death. The internet and the surroundings that we have more or less made us more, or I should say less civilized than we've ever been. And people don't realize that because we feel smart, because we know a lot of things. We know a lot of information, but we also don't understand that information. We can't apply that information. It's one thing to know a thing. It's another thing to be able to understand and apply a thing. It is one thing to say, I understand. It's another thing to say, I can be taught, right? Because we feel, like, we get children. Like our son, he's 14, he's going to be 15, and there are things that he has never experienced, things that he has never been involved with, things that he's never even really seen beyond a computer screen, that I'll talk to him about, and he'll talk as though he understands it. Because the internet has given him the illusion that he does. And it's not just children. Children are growing up into adults who believe they understand a thing because they've seen it through a screen. Like, I've met young men, I mentored a lot of young men, and a lot of young men say like, oh, I could get shot, or I could get in a fight, or I could be stabbed. And I'm like, well, have you ever been in a fight? Have you ever been shot, or have you ever been stabbed? They're like, no, but I feel like I could deal with it. I've been shot, I've been stabbed, and I've been in a lot of fights. And I've seen people be shot and be stabbed and be in a lot of fights, and I've seen people who thought they could handle being stabbed be stabbed. And do you know how many people who get stabbed handle it with grace? Not many. the number is 0. Yeah, calamitous, I've been shot, I don't recommend it. It's not a fun experience. I both times I was grazed once, I was shot once, and I was hit with a ricochet once. And none of them were pleasant experiences, especially when I had to have a bullet dug out of my leg. This is not a fun thing. It is not enjoyable at all. I've been both 0 out of 10, don't recommend. Right. It is one of those things where we live in such an odd era of time where all of these things, and that's why I don't allow politics or modern discussions, because people can't be level-headed about this and have constructive conversations. If we can have a constructive conversation about a thing, I am more than happy to have it. It's why I'm willing to talk about media quality, because that's a little bit divisive. People do get a little bit heated about it. But I'm willing to talk about my objective opinion as a professional, as well as my personal opinion. The lady and I were just talking about this earlier. Like, I might review something as being bad. Like, there are some games and movies and things that I've watched that are bad. They're just objectively not good quality. But I still enjoyed the experience. So something may be a 2 out of 10 quality-wise, but I might have had an 8 out of 10 experience. And that's okay, because that is the human experience. And we can have that conversation. You don't have to enjoy the things that I tell you are objectively bad, and you don't, or that I tell you are objectively good, and you don't have to enjoy the things that I tell you are or not enjoy the things I tell you are objectively bad. That is the adult and mature thing about having an intellectual conversation. But what you will get, I will never be anything but intellectually honest with all of you. So if you ask me, is a book good, I will give you my personal enjoyment of it, which we can count as an opinion, and I will give you the objective quality of the thing. But I will never lie to you and say that something is good or something is bad just because it's popular or unpopular to do so. terribly ironic, the author of this line now. My kids, I will correct them and then look it up with them or ask them if they think XYZ should be correct. Yeah, and sometimes, well, one of the things that Everett does, and I think he does it because he thinks it's funny, is that even after we show him the thing is correct, he'll still fight and be like, no, it's not right. And I think he just does it to be funny. It's not funny, but I think he does it because he thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of adults are. A lot of adults, you can show them the truth, and they still won't admit that they're wrong. My oldest corrected me the other day. We looked it up, and I looked him in the face and said, "You're right, my bad, I apologize." Well, that's a very important thing to learn, is that whenever I'm wrong, the lady and I will sit down with Everett and be like, "Hey, you were right, we were wrong." It's important that we admit that. And if I overreact to something, I'll sit down whoever I overreacted with and say, "Hey, I overreacted, I apologize. I didn't need to be that angry, I didn't need to be that upset, I didn't need to be that dismissive about whatever it was. I broke my arm about a year ago, and there's no way I would have kept on like they do in the movies." Yeah, I've never broken a bone, but I have dislocated a knee and then worked on it for 8 hours afterwards, and I don't recommend that at all. I got hit by a car, and then I worked an 8-hour shift after the fact. And I had separated my hip, I dislocated my knee, rolled my ankle, and it caused all other kinds of issues, and I had a lifted collarbone from that, and I worked 8 hours. After that 8 hours, and the adrenaline had wore off about 3 hours in, I felt like I'd been hit by a car. Broken in 6 different places due to fighting in his early 20s. I assume you're talking about Mateus? Because I don't know if there was some issues before that, but I didn't see it, Ashley. It might not have shown up. Yeah, and I was working as a porter mechanic in a dealership. And yeah, I worked a full 8-hour shift afterwards. And what's funny is that the manager at the time knew that I had been hit and still let me work the full shift because I said I felt all right. Taking accountability is incredibly important for children and adults to learn. Yeah, because it's actually one of the things that we have the least of. This is the least accountable generation. The last 3 generations are the least accountable generations of people ever, because the internet has created this false sense that we can say and do things without ever being held accountable to them. And teaching your children and teaching and holding adults in your life accountable to the things they do and say is incredibly important to the health of society. Holding yourself accountable and the people who are in your immediate... I don't mean strangers. Don't worry about strangers. Don't go online and start holding strangers accountable. That's not what I'm saying here. Let's not confuse it. I'm not trying to create a moral campaign against people who don't hold themselves accountable. But I'm saying that for you yourself and for the people in your immediate vicinity, accountability is incredibly important, and you should hold yourself, your children, and your friends and family who are nearby you. You should hold each other accountable, yes. A car, a full ship, yeah. And it wasn't like a big car. I think it was like a Ford Focus. I got hit by it was a small car, but I got hit, she was going probably about 45 miles an hour. I was lucky I didn't break anything, because she hit me hard. She ran over my left foot, squashed my toes, and hit my right leg. It was just my right leg and my right arm that got hit. And my right boot basically exploded. Like, I had to duct tape my boot back to my foot because my boot exploded. So it was a hell of a thing. No, it's not. Many things that I've been through have messed me up a lot, and I would not wish them on it. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I have been injured a lot. I worked with less than legitimate people for a very long time when I was younger. My teens, I was associated with the worst kind of people. And I don't mean politicians, I mean the worst kind of people. And I did a lot of really terrible things that have questionable legality, and we've talked about this in the past. And I did a lot of damage to my body in that time period. And I would never recommend... I did a lot of illegal fighting, was one of the things. Like underground fighting, blood matches. And I ravaged my body doing that. And I would not recommend it to anybody. And I meet a lot of young men who think that that's very cool. And they think like, oh, I'd love to do that. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't. As a guy who's done it, even at the time, I didn't find it glorious. The money was good, but even at the time, I didn't find it glorious. And most of why I did it was because my family was very poor. That was really it. You're a warrior. I don't know about that. I'm a storyteller with a pretty sturdy backbone. I can take a hit or two. I don't know if warrior is an earned title I've got. People who don't hold themselves accountable for what they do, one of the greatest ills of civilization. Yes, 100%. A non-accountable populace, people within a society that don't hold themselves accountable first, and then their immediate kin accountable, are absolutely a drag on civilization. And if you look at all of the great civilizations and when they start to fall, that is usually what is going on in society about the time. And sadly, we are in an instance now where that is worldwide. And it's something that, because we have lost tradition, and we have lost the family, and we've lost the idea of community, those things have more or less just gone out the window. I grew up riding BMX and I broke my left tibia, blew up both my ankles 3 times each, 4 ribs, dislocated left shoulder. Yeah, and those, you don't really think about it when you're young because you're like, I'm bulletproof. But, you know, I've fallen off of buildings and all of these other things that have happened. I've been shot, I've been stabbed. And while I am relatively lucky as far as people who have been through what I've been through to have made it through relatively unscathed, I am not going to live to old age not having felt the things that I've experienced. We are in the midst of bread and circuses, yes indeed. Thank you for the hydrate, Frost, I appreciate you. Okay, I'm going to get back to reading. This one line just set me off, didn't it? Alright, where was I?
Dumbledore says it's far easier to forgive others for being wrong than being right,
said Hermione.
I heard him telling your mum, Ron.
Sounds like a sort of mental thing Dumbledore would say, said Ron. He's going to be giving me private lessons. Oh,
he's going to be giving me private lessons this year,
said Harry conversationally. Ron choked on his bit of toast, and Hermione gasped. You kept that quiet? Said Ron.
I only just remember,
said Harry honestly.
He told me last night in your broom shed.
Blimey, private lessons with Dumbledore, said Ron, looking impressed. I wonder why he's... His voice tailed away, and Harry saw him and Hermione exchange looks. Harry laid down his knife and fork, his heart beating rather fast, considering that all he was doing was sitting in bed. Dumbledore had said to do it. Why not now? He fixed his eyes on his fork, which was gleaming in the sunlight, streaming onto his lap, and said,
I don't know exactly why he's going to give me lessons, but I think it's because of the prophecy.
Neither Ron nor Hermione smoked? Hopefully not. Spoke. Castle, hello, I've just returned. Did I miss much of the conversation during the 20 minutes I was away? You did not. You did not. I waffled for a very good deal of time. I agree, Master Castle, not being able to admit that you did something wrong is very bad and can hurt the people around you. Absolutely. Absolutely the case. I think that the YouTube chat is very far behind the rest. So, hopefully not too far behind. My husband fought a lot, so much that he can not take another hit to the head. Shot, stained, cause... Yeah, it's... You have to be very careful with how you treat yourself when you're young, because it does come back to you when you're older, to be sure. Harry had the impression both had frozen. He continued, still speaking to his fork.
You know, the one they were trying to steal at the ministry. Nobody knows what it said, though,
said Hermione quickly.
It got smashed.
Although the prophet says, began Ron, but Hermione said, shh.
The prophet got it right,
said Harry, looking up at them both with a great effort. Hermione seemed frightened and Ron amazed.
That glass ball that smashed wasn't the only record of the prophecy. I heard the whole thing in Dumbledore's office. He was the one the prophecy was made to, so he could tell me. From what it said...
Harry took a deep breath.
It looks like I'm the one who's got to finish off Voldemort. At least, it said neither of us could live while the other survives.
The three of them gazed at one another in silence for a moment. Then there was a loud bang, and Hermione vanished behind a puff of black smoke. "Hermione!" shouted Harry and Ron. The breakfast tray slid on the floor with a crash. Hermione emerged, coughing out of smoke and clutching the telescope, and sporting a brilliant purple-black eye.
I squeezed it, and it punched me,
she gasped. And sure enough, they now saw a tiny fist on a long spring protruding from the long end of the telescope. "Don't worry," said Ron, who was plainly trying not to laugh. "Mom will fix that. She's good at healing minor injuries."
"Oh, well, never mind that now,"
said Hermione hastily.
"Harry, oh, Harry."
She sat down on the edge of the bed again.
"We wondered, after we got back from the ministry, obviously we didn't want to say anything to you, but from what Lucius Malfoy said about the prophecy, how it was about you and Voldemort, well, we thought it might be something like this. Oh, Harry."
She stared at him, then whispered,
"Are you scared?"
"Not as much as I was," said Harry. "When I first heard it, I was... But now, it seems as though I always knew I'd have to face it in the end." "We heard Dumbledore was collecting you in person, and we thought he might be telling you something or showing you something to do with the prophecy," said Ron eagerly. "And we were kind of right, weren't we? He wouldn't be giving you lessons if he thought you were a goner. Wouldn't waste his time. He must think you've got a chance."
"That's true,"
said Hermione.
"I wonder what he'll teach you, Harry. Really advanced defensive magic, probably. Powerful counter curses and anti-jinxes."
Harry did not really listen. A warmth was spreading through him that had nothing to do with the sunlight. A tight obstruction in his chest seemed to be dissolving. He knew that Ron and Hermione were more shocked than they were letting on, but the mere fact that they were still there on either side of him, speaking bracing words of comfort, not shrinking from him as though he were contaminated or dangerous, was worth more than he could ever tell them.
"Or evasive enchantments generally,"
concluded Hermione.
"Well, at least you know one lesson you'll be having this year. That's one more than Ron and me. I wonder when our OWL results will come."
"Can't be long now. It's been a month," said Ron.
"Hang on,"
said Harry, as another part of last night's conversation came back to him.
"I think Dumbledore said our OWL results will be arriving today." "Today?"
shrieked Hermione.
"Today? But why didn't you... Oh, my God! You should have said..."
She leapt to her feet.
"I can't... I'm going to see whether any owls have come."
But when Harry arrived downstairs 10 minutes later, fully dressed and carrying his empty breakfast tray, it was to find Hermione sitting at the kitchen table with great agitation, while Mrs. Weasley tried to lessen her resemblance to half a panda.
"It just won't budge,"
said Mrs. Weasley, was saying anxiously, standing over Hermione with her wand in her hand and a copy of The Healer's Helpmate open at bruises, cuts, and abrasions.
"This is what has always worked before. I can't understand it." "It'll be Fred and George's idea of a funny joke. Making sure it can't come off." "But it's got to come off,"
squeaked Hermione.
"I can't go around looking like this forever." "You won't, dear. We'll find an antidote. Don't worry,"
said Mrs. Weasley soothingly.
"Bill told me, oh, Fred and George are very amusing,"
said Fleur, smiling serenely.
"Yes, I can hardly breathe from laughing,"
snapped Hermione. I just got to the end of a year survey request. Hang on. From the homeschool co-op, I don't even want to respond to it. They tried to teach my children what they should do. Tried to teach my children that you should open all the doors during a fire. Well, that's not right. Apparently, the homeschool co-op that Destiny's a part of tried to teach the children to open all the doors if there's a fire. Which is not correct. You don't do that. It's like people who...
I mean, the door could be hot.
Well, yeah, and if you don't want to create airflow when there's a fire.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big thing. I just received a message, and I want to pass it on to anyone with a Steam account. Steam got hacked, so everyone needs to check their accounts. Thank you, Tyson. I appreciate you for that. Very much appreciated. And I'm not kidding, then looked at me like I was nuts when I very rudely told them how wrong that was. Yeah, that is very strange. Hey, Matty, hello, my friend, good to see you. Okay, TikTok filtered me. Matthew's been pew-pewed 2 times and run over 4 times. I see, yes. TikTok will do... I actually probably shouldn't have said anything about what happened to me, or else they might ban the live, so... Hannah, hello! It's been a while since I last saw you, Castle. How are you and the family doing? Well, wonderful. I'm so good to see you. It's... Oh, okay. Yeah, it has been a while, Hannah. I'm glad that you're back in the tavern with us again. How have you been? Oxygen is fuel. She literally looked at me and said, how would you know? My dude, how do you not know? Yeah, I mean, this is pretty... It's like the first thing you learn when you're working on a car is if there's fire on... If there's smoke coming out from underneath the hood, you don't open it because it'll... Yeah, backdraft. I got chewed up by parrots today at Parrot Mountain. Well, I'm glad they spit you out so we could have you again, Matty. I've been very busy with 2 jobs. Well, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with staying busy. As long as it's working out for you, I'm very glad that you are taking care of yourself and that you made it back, to be sure. I then very loudly corrected her and told her that I'd love to get the fire department in to teach proper fire safety. Also, I married into a fire family. This is basic kindergarten knowledge. Yeah, that's a very strange thing overall. I guess it's fortunate that you were there so that you could correct them, because it's dangerous information. Like, if you have a candle, you extinguish it with one of those metal guns. Right. You smother a fire. I have missed your storytelling. Oh, you flatter me deeply, Hannah. Well, I'm glad that you could make it back. Grab your seat, settle in. Fill your tankard, your mug, your cup, whatever you have. That's why you stack logs, so that there is space, right? You gotta breathe, there's got to be airflow. That is a wild thing, to be sure. Okay, where was I? Castle Johnny's been a technician for 20 years, so he possesses extensive knowledge of automobiles. That's wonderful. I worked in the automotive industry for 10 years when I was running away from my role as a tavern keeper. And yeah, one of the first things you learn is if there's smoke coming out from underneath the hood, you don't open it, because if anything is on fire, it's going to catch on more fire. How do you put out a fire? Pour gasoline on it. Well, Tyler, technically speaking, if you poured a bunch of gasoline onto a fire very, very quickly, you could put it out. That's not the most effective way to do it. But if you also pour a bunch of gasoline on it, it'll burn much quicker and run out of fuel more quickly. So that'll put it out eventually. I called the Hubs family to tell them, and they offered to fly up here to teach them. I should be back a little more like usual starting Sunday too. I just have to make sure I put time aside for my lovely lady. Oh, of course, Matty. I would not... You guys all know how important the lady is to me. I would never deny you giving the time necessary to your lovely lady. The liquid gas isn't the problem, it's the vapors. Yeah, precisely. And it vaporizes when it hits the fire, which is why it's an accelerant. Can I get a hug cheer from the tavern? I finally won my divorce. My kids and I are free. Sinful Siren. congratulations on being set free, I guess is how we will say it. I'm sorry that you had to go through all that, and hopefully things will be on the up and up for you and your kids. His left is permanently disfigured due to being broken in 6 different places. Yeah, see, that's rough. That's rough. My right knee is permanently messed up from how many times it's been dislocated. So, like I said, I've never had a break. My lady is Elsie. Oh, I see. They do put out oil fires by exploding them. I mean, that's true. Well, that's one of the ways that it's done. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I want to say congrats on the divorce, because divorce is a very sad thing. But I get congratulations that the grief is done, we'll say. Erin, thank you for gifting Matty a sub, and enjoy your Green Man's Drought there. Matty, Erin's bought you a Green Man's Drought, please enjoy. All for fighting for 25 plus years ago, right. Yeah. I'm so lucky that the damage to my hands is very minimal. Yeah, and sometimes it definitely can be a good thing. I just want to say I don't want to put out the wrong message of saying congratulations on the divorce, because that feels insensitive to me. I would rather say congratulations on being free from the grief, because divorce is never a good thing. It's always grief for somebody. Sometimes it does mean you're getting away from a bad situation, and that's what I would like to congratulate you on, not necessarily the divorce itself, because again, I am of the mind that if a family can stay together, it should. But as has been said, sometimes it's just not a good situation for one or both people, and sometimes you have to part ways. Maybe he'll get some of those fire lessons, kidding. Yeah, and I hope that going forward, your new lease on life, that you're going to find fortune, and that you will find prosperity in whatever comes after. It's one of those weird things, right? Like, it's weird, like when somebody has a family member die, I don't ever want to be like, you have my condolences, because I don't want people to be sad. I always want to tell people, hey, when somebody has passed, I hope that you're remembering them well and happily and so on. I guess I just don't approach these things the same way that most people do, because my family doesn't approach them the same way. So it's a bit odd, I know, but I hope I'm getting that across properly. Thanks for the reading, Castle. Time for me to sleep. Good night, Mary Beth. I waffled quite a bit tonight, so I apologize. We're actually getting near the end here, and I'm still not done with Harry Potter. Yeah, she does sound like an awful teacher. Sorry if I'm a little bit off, by the way, a bit buzzed from moonshine. That's alright, you're in the south, Matty. Gotta do it once or twice. If my mom hadn't gotten her divorce, I'd have a worse debt. And that's true, like I said, sometimes one of the things that I don't want to say preach, but one of the things that I will stand on more than anything is that most parents from the last 40 years were not ready to be parents. So most children are in situations that are really bad because you either have one or both parents who weren't ready to be parents, and because of that, the children end up suffering as a result of it. So sometimes divorce is the best way to go, because it means that those people should not be together and they need to work as best they can. That's why I always encourage young people, if you're going to date and you're going to make decisions that can create children, do it as responsibly as possible. And I don't have any shame in saying that you should abstain from having sex with people who you don't want to have children with. Because if you create a child with somebody, that child is going to suffer endlessly from it. And that's your responsibility. You made those decisions. So when you are dating and when you're getting married, spend the time. It is better that you spend 4 or 5 years getting to know somebody. It is far better that you spend 4 or 5 years getting to really know somebody and have the hard conversations, have the hard discussions. And it won't always work. Some people are just liars. But in general, 90% of the time, spend the time, get to know the person, really have those hard conversations. And if a person is not able and willing to have those conversations and move forward, then you just don't stay with them forever. And it's a hard decision to make, but it is the most responsible decision to make. the lady and I never fight, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. We never fight. That's not to say we never disagree. We disagree on a lot of things, but we never fight. We never go to bed angry at each other. We never wake up angry at each other, because we talk about everything, and we understand each other, on a deep emotional and intellectual level, so we don't ever have to fight, and we're always on the same page about everything because we talk about it. Now, that's not to say we never have misunderstandings, because sometimes we do. We're human. But when you are in these situations and there are other people involved, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to the other person, and you owe it to the children who will be involved someday to make sure that, one, you know that person, you're on the same page. Because otherwise, almost everyone in here, I guarantee you, either had divorced parents or had really rough parents, had parents with a really rough understanding of what it meant to raise kids. Like, when we're in my grandfather's family, we literally teach our children what it means to be a good friend, to be a good spouse, to be a good father. Because those things are important. And they should be taught, because they are not natural, they are skills. You cannot just by instinct be a good mother. You cannot just by instinct be a good father. You cannot just by instinct be a good friend or be a good child. Those are skills. They have to be learned. Especially since there is a societal aspect to it. And we don't teach our children these things, so they grow up and they can never teach their children those things. Like, I've been putting together a book, actually, for Destiny, because she and her husband would like to get married in clan tradition, talking about all of the things we go through before we get married, before we have children, and the way that we raise our children, because she wants to follow those traditions with her family. I mean, the other guy wasn't a bad person per se, but my dad was a much better match for her. Exactly, and it's important to actually like your spouse, which I think a lot of people miss. A lot of people will get married purely because they feel like they have to. Like, some people will stay with people that they don't like, and I was in a relationship before I was with a lady where she did not like me, and we did not get along well, but we'd been together for so long that we just stayed together. So I'm not exempt from making these bad decisions. I did it too. But I made sure we didn't have children because it would not have been healthy in that household. Because we didn't get along. We fought all the time. Yes, people think that they can just be natural, but it has to be intentional. Yes. The book has been years in the making. That actually reminds me, I have the wedding one finished. I need to send it to you. I probably should just post it over in the guild. But my father was very abusive to my mother, and she left and later met another man who was verbally abusive to both of us. When I married, I was heading in a very similar way, but I didn't stay long enough for it to get worse than it was. It didn't have to. And see, and Molly, that's really what I'm talking about, is that, like, we rush into these things rather than getting to know folk, and we don't like to look at our parents and say, oh, my parents were bad parents. But the reality is that most of our parents were bad parents. We can acknowledge that they did their best, but I think our relationships would be a lot better with our families if we admit, hey, they didn't know what they were doing, and because of that, they were bad parents. That doesn't mean they didn't love me. That doesn't mean that they didn't do their best, but they were bad at it. Like, if your pilot crashed your plane, you wouldn't be like, oh, well, you were a pilot and you did your very best. No, you would be upset and acknowledge that the bad pilot crashed the plane. And that happens all the time with parents. So many parents are out there crashing the plane, and we just want to give them the benefit of the doubt because they were parents, and you don't have to do that. And it's healthier to admit that, hey, my parents were bad parents. My parents were not good parents. I ended up going to live with my grandfather when I was 6 months old because my father had financial issues. That's not a good parent. And you have to be able to admit that in order to be able to forgive them. Here's that admitting to yourself that you were wrong about something. Absolutely, 100% Spark. It is one of those things about admitting that you're wrong. My parents have been married for almost 50 years now. I don't remember them having a terrible marriage. Well, and see, and Bethany, you're very fortunate. And that's a wonderful thing. That's such a privilege, such a beautiful thing to be able to have. Because the vast majority of people born in the last 40, 50 years, their parents were not ready to be parents. And because of that, they raised children who felt neglected and alienated and separate. Like, as much as I dislike my grandfather and I, we do not like each other. I have a deep, resounding respect for my grandfather because of the structure that he gave me. If it were not for the structure and education my grandfather gave me, all of the things I've been through in my life, I would not have survived. I would have died a great long time ago. Christy, you said something and I want to go back because I didn't read it. Communication is the key. We understand so much more when we discuss anything. Our daughter has been told she can come to us with anything, anytime. We also discuss rather than fight. We're open to learn from each other. Well, and that's super important. Tyler says, my parents have been unhappy with each other for years, and my mother has mainly stayed at home because she had 5 kids, and my dad was the youngest. With my dad, and the youngest is graduating high school next year. And see, and that's hard. And this is why these conversations are so important. Because if you just have this conversation beforehand, and people always say, well, I really want to get married, I want to have kids before I'm 30. That number doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter. Because it is better that you spend a few years finding out whether or not it's going to work than spend 30 years regretting the decision and making even more bad decisions on the back end. Off topic, but Matthew makes a lot of biltong, South African jerky in the summer. I would love to. I love South African jerky. I love Hawaii. I like beef jerky. I don't need or want gifts, but the one gift I would always accept if people wanted to send it was beef jerky. I love beef jerky. Okay, just as a note, this is the worst jerky that I buy, but right here, right now at my desk, I have a bag of beef jerky sitting next to me. I love beef jerky. Beef jerky is like, I have four or five loves in the world, and beef jerky has been one of them since I was a child. Like, it's the lady at the top, my family in second, and then beef jerky and books are constantly fighting for third and fourth, depending on what the book and what the jerky I have access to is. It's very sweaty over here.
You want me to fan you?
No, I'm okay. Love it. It's all right. Yeah. I'm sorry I got off on this ramble, by the way. This was very, very long.
Stop, it always happens.
It always happens. Biltong is heavenly. I haven't had biltong in probably 15 years. Right, and that's the most important aspect of it, Stephanie, is acknowledging that people do the best they can with the tools they have. It is okay to simultaneously admit your parents did the best that they could, but that they also did a bad job. Those two things, they're not mutually exclusive. They can be true at the same time. My parents had a shotgun wedding when my mom's parents found out she was pregnant with me. Yeah, and see, that's you. That story is so common for our generation. For the last several generations, as a matter of fact. I wasn't a good parent in my children's early years, and myself come from bad parents. I've worked hard to break that cycle and have a much better relationship with my kids now. And I have apologized to them for the mistakes. See, and that's a beautiful and powerful thing that is so necessary. As is Castle, indeed, my parents separated when I was 10 years old, which was 50 years ago now, and my mother was not a very effective mother, and I will not elaborate for reasons of understandable, and I don't expect anybody to necessarily share those stories, but the most important aspect is just understanding that these are truths. This is true. This is not an opinion. This is the reality of human nature. And being able to admit that your parents were not qualified to be parents, they just weren't, is going to help you have so much more of a better relationship with them. And if you are a parent and you did not know what you were doing, it's okay to admit that you didn't know what you were doing. And when your children are old enough to understand, have that conversation with them. Say, hey, I know I messed up, and I'm sorry, and I hope that I have learned. Now, you don't want to give away your authority to you, because a lot of people will do that where they give away their authority to their children. You still know better than your children do, so don't let them use that as a thing, but you want to still just be able to admit that you did poorly and that you tried your best and that you don't expect to be given a trophy because you tried your best. Doing your best doesn't mean that the bad goes away. But you still did your best, you love them, and you want to make it better as time goes on. My first marriage was a mistake, but I got out safe. My parents helped me. Then I met my husband, and we had Emmy. My parents were not perfect, but I learned from their mistakes. And that's really what this is about. When you can admit that you are wrong, and when you can admit that you were not right, more importantly, you can pass that on as a lesson. That lesson is the important aspect of handing down wisdom. If you can never admit that you're wrong, and a lot of people do this, like you hear parents all the time who be like, oh, well, I never did this, I never did that. And the children all look at them like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you insane? Of course you did these things. Being able to, as Destiny said here, my grandmother said breaking the cycle is the only way to break the generational curse that runs in the family. Because that's the reality of it is there's no such thing as a curse. The curse is that we emulate what we saw and refuse to be the one to step out of line. Because if you're just going to queue up and do the same things that your parents did, then of course you're going to live the same life that they did. Of course you're going to have the same problems that they did. Of course you're going to have the same downfalls that they did. Castle, Elsie and I are finding the discourse to be quite enjoyable. I'm glad, Esther. I'm glad. As I've said before, the rants are the ever-evolving story in the tavern. They're the magic in action. I'm glad that you guys think so. Because a lot of times I'll talk to people about this stuff and they look at me like I'm insane. But this is how I grew up. And I grew up with these things being a very prominent part of my relationship with my grandfather and his family and their tradition. And I still made those mistakes. So even having that structure isn't always enough. You have to have people around you who hold you accountable. Because when I left my grandfather's family, nobody was willing to hold me accountable. And I was a very capable and intuitive young man. So being capable and intuitive, surrounded by people who do wrong things all the time, ended up being to my detriment. Because then I could just manipulate everyone around me and do whatever I wanted and get away with it. And it wasn't until people started dying in my life because of me and around me that I had a wake-up call and I changed my life. Informing your parents as an adult that they did wrong sure is fun. Yeah, and I guarantee that conversation goes the same way for almost everybody. You'll sit down with your parents and say, hey, you did this thing. Your parents will say, no, I didn't do that. And they will have a completely different remembered version of history because that's how we cope with doing wrong. If we don't ever face the fact that we were wrong, if we don't ever hold ourselves accountable, our brain is going to try and rationalize it into us being right. And that is a massive, massive problem. The email connected to my guild account died. What needs to be done? Petra, if you're on any other accounts, either message me. If you're on any of the other platforms, either message me, message Destiny, or message the lady. Well, and I don't even know if it's necessarily gaslighting, Spark, because I genuinely think that most people end up believing those things themselves. So I don't necessarily believe that it's an intentional, maybe self-gaslighting to a degree, but I think that people genuinely convince themselves that they weren't wrong. Because it's the only way that they can move through life without constantly feeling the dread and drag of all of the things that they've done incorrectly and never faced. Because a lot of people will never face the things that they do wrong. They'll never face the ways that they are wrong or the things about the world that they believe that are incorrect or terrible. And then they convince themselves, so that it's not even that they're trying to lie to anyone else, it's that they genuinely believe that that's true. I'm very happy that I did my best for my son. Not perfect, but I raised a great man, and that's a wonderful thing. We need more of those in the world, that's to be sure. It's a level of awareness. I agree with that. And that's not to say that some parents don't do it, because there are certainly some people who are just genuinely bad and irresponsible people who will lie their way through anything just because. And I've had several of those people in my life. And there have been times in my life when I was a chronic liar. When I was a young man, I lied all the time because I was doing illegal things that I wasn't supposed to do. So, if you're just as a pro tip, if you are doing illegal things, it's probably best to lie about them. If you don't want to get caught. If you want to get caught, then obviously be honest about it. Well, the statute of limitations is far over on all of the things that I did wrong. So, I'm good to go on that. I was going to say, for most of those things, it'd be very hard for me to get in trouble for these days. And, yeah. It's only illegal if you get caught. No, it's still illegal even if you don't get caught, but you only have to pay the price of the illegality if you get caught. Bear, if you're off to bed, good night. Rest well, my friend. But yeah, Petra, message me or Destiny or somebody else and we'll do it. Both my parents have passed. My mother loved me, but was very critical. My dad was incredible. My parents both passed away in 2018, 6 months apart. And I was very fortunate because I didn't have a good relationship with either of my parents. because they sent me to live with my grandfather. I was 14, and they split up when I moved, or when I was 6 months old. I came back to live with them when I was 14, and when I got back, they split up, and I didn't really get to have a relationship with my mother until I was in my 20s, and I got about 5 good years with her before she passed away, and she had apologized and gotten better, and it was I'm grateful for the years I got with her, to be sure. Bear, if you're off to bed, good night. Rest well. Okay, I'm going to get back to reading. We only have 4 more pages left in here, and I definitely need to stand up before what is left of my buttocks withers away from sitting in this chair for so long. Alright. She jumped up and started walking round and round the kitchen, twisting her fingers together.
Mrs. Weasley, you're quite sure that no owls have arrived this morning? Yes, dear. I'd have noticed,
said Mrs. Weasley patiently.
It's barely 9. There's plenty of time. I know I messed up ancient runes,
muttered Hermione feverishly.
And I definitely made at least one serious mistranslation. And the Defense Against the Dark Arts practical was no good at all. I thought Transfiguration went all right at the time, but looking back...
Hermione, will you shut up? You're not the only one who's nervous, barked Ron. And when you've got your 10 outstanding OWLs...
Don't,
said Hermione, flapping her hands hysterically.
I know I've failed everything.
What happens if we fail? Harry asked the room at large, but it was again Hermione who answered.
We discuss our options with Head of House. I asked Professor McGonagall at the end of last term.
Harry's stomach squirmed. He wished he had eaten less breakfast.
At Bourbontons,
said Fleur complacently.
We had a different way of doing things. I think it was better. We set our examinations at 6 years of study, not 5, and then...
Fleur's words were drowned out in a scream. Hermione was pointing through the kitchen window and saw 3 black specks were clearly visible in the sky, growing larger all the time. They're definitely owls, said Ron hoarsely, jumping up and down to join Hermione at the window. And there's 3 of them, said Harry, hastening to her other side. 1 for each of us, said...
1 for each of us,
said Hermione in a terrified whisper.
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
She gripped both Harry and Ron tightly around the elbows. The owls were flying directly at the burrow. 3 handsome Tonnies, each of which, it became clear as they flew lower over the path leading up the house, was carrying a large square envelope.
Oh no!
Squealed Hermione. Mrs. Weasley squeezed past them and opened the kitchen window. 1, 2, 3 owls soared through it and landed on the table in a neat line. All 3 of them lifted their right legs. Harry moved forward. The letter addressed to him was tied to the leg of the owl in the middle. He untied it with fumbling fingers. To his left, Ron was trying to detach his own results, and to his right, Hermione's hands were shaking so much she was making her owl tremble. Nobody in the kitchen spoke. At last, Harry managed to detach the envelope and slit it open quickly and unfold the parchment inside. I just finished drinking a quad espresso. I'm so tired. It is midnight where you are, woman. Why are you drinking that? Theoretically, if I kept Cthulhu as a pet, will he hurt me? Theoretically, if you kept Cthulhu as a pet, you would be Cthulhu's pet. Theoretically speaking. Yeah, I was getting back to the reading. Sorry, Bear. I know I went off on a long ramble there. That was my fault.
Ordinary wizarding levels. Pass grades. Outstanding. Exceeds expectation. acceptable. Fail grades, poor, dreadful, troll. Harry James Potter has achieved an acceptable in astronomy, exceeds expectations in care for magical creatures, a E for charms, defense against the dark arts an O, divination a P, herbology an E, for history of magic a D, potions an E, and transfiguration an E.
Harry read the parchment through several times, his breathing becoming easier with each reading. It was all right. He had always known that he would fail divination, and he had had no chance of passing history of magic, given that he had collapsed halfway through the examination. But he had passed everything else. He ran his finger down the grades. He had passed well in transfiguration and herbology, exceeded expectations in potions, and best of all, he had achieved outstanding in defense against the dark arts. He looked around. Hermione had her back to him with her head bent, but Ron was looking delighted. I only failed history and magic, and who cares about them? He said happily to Harry. Yeah, swap. Harry glanced down at Ron's grades. There were no outstandings there. Knew you'd be top of defense against the dark arts, Ron said, punching Harry in the shoulder. We've done all right, haven't we?
Well done,
said Mrs. Weasley, proudly ruffling Ron's hair.
7 OWLs. That's more than Fred and George got together.
Wow, that's a bit of a punch in the gut. Depending on his size, because I'm not feeding something the size of 600 cruise ships. Actually, 600 is a bit small. Freezing, frozen. Sorry, yep, the internet is making the portals unstable. Video's out on your end. Let's see. Now it's back. Okay, yeah, we must have had a dip. Birds, ooh woo. So do you know how people are mad at the changed race for Snape is being made? I mean, I'm sure that they are. Race swapping is nothing unusual in this day and age, though, and because Rowling is involved herself, I've got no reason to comment on it. I think that it is silly, and I think that it lacks a certain level of artistic integrity. They're changing Hermione, but didn't Rowling say she's not? I have no idea, birds, ooh, to be perfectly honest. I try to stay out of the drama of it all, because it is, while it is part of our accomplishment, if they change it just willy-nilly, I think that it lacks a certain level of integrity. But if the author is involved, like Martin was with House of the Dragon, and like Rowling is with the TV show, and they change things, that's the author not keeping the integrity of their own work. I think that it is silly, and I think that it's poor storytelling, and I think that it's cheap inclusion. But if it is the author who decides to do it, then I have nothing really to say about it. If the author chooses to change their own work for silly reasons like that, for cheap inclusion, I don't respect it, but I also have nothing else to say about it. It's entirely up to them. Did you guys miss their scores? Do you want me to go back? I was reading out the ordinary wizarding levels. Did you guys miss that part? I'm gonna wait just a second to see how many of you missed it. And if everybody missed it, then I'll go back and I'll read it again. Yeah, I'm getting unstable all the way across the board, so I may lose you all here in a minute. That means that we might be experiencing an outage. I heard Harry's scores. Only heard Harry's scores. Okay. So Harry got an A in astronomy, E in care of magical creatures, E in charms, O in defense against the dark arts, P in divination, E in herbology, D in history of magic, E in potions, and E in transfiguration. And now we're on to the other side. He looked around. Hermione had her back to him, her head bent, but Ron was looking delighted. Only failed divination and history and magic, but who cares about them? He said happily to Harry. Swap. Harry glanced down at Ron's grades. There were no outstandings there. Knew you'd be at top at Defense Against the Dark Arts, said Ron, punching Harry on the shoulder. We've done all right, haven't we?
Well done,
said Mrs. Weasley proudly, ruffling Ron's hair.
7 OWLs. That's more than Fred and George got together.
And again, throwing some shade at Fred and George. Loki, thank you for the heart me. Like, I had no problem with Dumbledore because even the OG actor and character seemed like it would fit. Yeah, and I'm 100% Hufflepuff. I'm a Slytherin, I believe. And all of the tests say it. Mrs. Weasley can be absolutely savage, I guess, especially against her own children. I tried to message the Lady Una, but it wouldn't let me. On what, Petra? What are you trying to message her on? Hermione, said Ginny tentatively, but Hermione still hadn't turned around. How did you do? Not bad, said Hermione in a small voice. Oh, come off it, said Ron, striding over to her and whipping her results out of her hand. Yet 9 outstandings and 1 exceeds expectations at Defense Against the Dark Arts. He looked down at her, half amused, half exasperated. You're actually disappointed, aren't you? Hermione shook her head, but Harry laughed. Well, we're Newt students now, grinned Ron. Mum, are there any more sausages? Harry looked back down at his results. They were as good as he could have hoped for. He felt just one tiny twinge of regret. This was the end of his ambition to become an Auror. He had not secured the required potions grades. He had known all along that he wouldn't, but he still felt a sinking in his stomach as he looked down again at the small black E. Shocker, I'm totally a Gryffindor. My internet decided the same time to and we were having connection issues here as well. What do they mean by an E grade? So E means exceeds expectations. So the passing grades are outstanding for O, exceeds expectation for E, and acceptable for A. The failing grades are P for poor, D for dreadful, and T for troll. Which just seems unnecessarily cruel to tell your children that they're intelligent as a troll. I tend to be a Gryffindor. On the guild. It wouldn't let you... Well, if you've been signed out on the guild, then you're not going to be able to get in. So, Petra, are you on any of the other platforms? Are you on Instagram? Are you on TikTok? Any of those that you can message somebody from? Because that'll be the easiest way to do it. Lovey, what is your Hogwarts house? It's Ravenclaw, isn't it? Yeah. The lady is a Ravenclaw and I am a Slytherin. I'm a Slytherin all the way and oddly enough married to a Hufflepuff. That does totally make sense. That's usually how it goes. The grades in the wizarding world go as such: outstanding, exceeds expectation, acceptable, poor, dreadful, troll. Benjamin, thank you for the heart, mate. It's good to see you. Tips to the Tavern keeper are always appreciated. My husband is a Ravenclaw. That makes sense. It's worked for us so far. Been together for over 5 years. Married for 2 of those. And we're all rooting for you both to be happy forever. Or as long as forever will last. Alright, where was I? It was odd, really, seeing that it had been a Death Eater in disguise who had first told Harry he'd make a good Auror. But somehow, the idea had taken hold of him, and he couldn't really think of anything else he would like to be. Moreover, it had seemed the right destiny for him since he'd heard the prophecy a few weeks ago. Neither can live while the other survives. Wouldn't he be living up to the prophecy and giving himself the best chance of survival if he joined those highly trained wizards whose job it was to find and kill Voldemort? So, Petro, what you need to do, that's the end of chapter 5, my friends. So, any of you who are here just for Harry Potter, I will wish you good night, and we will see you all again on Sunday for story time with the lady, or Tuesday for more Harry Potter. Ravenclaw and Slytherin, now that's a dangerous power coupling. It's true, but given that I'm a dropout and she is an exceptional student, that's probably why we work so well together. Tyson is a Gryffindor. We have a lot of Gryffindors and Hufflepuffs in the tavern. Good night. It was lovely to see everyone again. Good night, Kristalla. It was lovely to see you as well. Friends, we are going to do some more of... Actually, you know what? It is quite late. We might not do Silverthorn tonight. Because well, you know what? Forget about it. We'll do Silverthorn tonight. I'm going to stretch real quick. And then we'll do... We're not going to do any songs in the middle. We'll do songs at the end, though. So we'll do songs at the end just because we waffled quite a bit. Or I should say I waffled quite a bit. How do you find out which house I am? So there are a couple of different ways. There are thousands of tests online. You say you're finishing up. We're finished with Harry Potter for the night. I'm going to get up and stretch real quick. And then, good night, Tonks. Rest well. It was good to see you as always. I'm going to get up and stretch. When I come back, we'll do Silverthorn, and then we'll do songs at the end. You can go to the Pottermore website. That's the official one. But there are hundreds of these quizzes online that will help you figure out which one it is. I've taken 30 of them, and in every one of them I turned out to be a Slytherin. And I only ever answer the quizzes honestly. So, yeah, there you go. Pottermore's the official, but if you think about it, it's really up to you. Or it's up to a sorting hat. So if you can find a hat somewhere that'll talk to you, that you can put on your head and it'll tell you what house you're in, you might either be very, very high or being sorted into a house. Not staying long? Well, so talk, I'm glad you dropped in anyway. Fey Witch, hello, it's good to see you. Proud Puff over here. Tonks is a Hufflepuff. Yes, get a stretch. Yeah, I'll get a good stretch and I'll be right back, friends. So give me just a couple of minutes and then we'll be back for... Yeah, I had a bunch of people around me who were big Harry Potter fans, and so people were always sending me quizzes and having me take them. Especially after the 10th time I got Slytherin on a quiz. A bunch of the people who were around me at the time just didn't believe that it was always going to happen, and it kept happening over and over and over and over and over again. Thank you for the stretch, Swordog. I appreciate you. Taking about 10, and I'm also always going to Slytherin, right? And some of them are wild. Like, some of them are like, would you save a cat in the street if... all these things, and... My honest answer is, I guess, I'm very Slytherin. I don't know. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Molly says, the chair.
Yeah.
Always got different answers, but Gryffindor and Slytherin was common, but I didn't like that because it felt too stereotypical to me because those were the two houses talked about most in the books. Hufflepuff was the house I got least often, which I was never happy about because that was the house my family always said they thought I'd be in.
Well, you find that you're in the house that you're most suited for.
Says the hat.
So, if Bethany were clever and caring, she'd be in Hufflepuff.
I have no social media other than YouTube to answer your question. Okay. Send me an email, Petra. Send me an email, and we'll get it sorted that way. That's all right, Destiny. Drop off. It is late. Go to bed. You had a long day. I find myself leaning more towards Slytherin as I get older. I think that that's probably just the... Almost like Slytherin doesn't mean a villain. Yeah, well, I mean, if anybody in here could be classified as a villain, I think I probably could be. At least when I was younger. Petra, send me an email here. And we'll work on a way of getting your... I'll get you the instructions for how to get it sorted. I just sent it. It's just above the message you just sent. Yeah, for everyone who went off to bed, good night, my friends. Rest well. We're going to read as much of Silverthorn as we can. And my voice is probably going to die because there's so many people in this chapter. I was voicing like 8 people last time. Let's see, how many pages do we have left in this chapter? Okay, so 70? Got 15 pages. I'm going to read through it as quickly as I can. I like how we never talk about how the Sorting Hat literally let Harry choose which house he wanted. Right. I am still reading, Esther. We're just now getting into Silverthorn. Alright, everyone, send our head barmaid off to bed with grandeur. Let's get a good night for Destiny. It shouldn't end at 4 a.m., but it keeps ending at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
No songs for the middle. We're gonna pluck on so we can get some Silverthorn out of the way, and then we'll do songs at the end, Tyson. My Patronus is a grass snake. That's interesting. Specifically a grass snake, huh?
My mom got a dolphin and she didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Your mom was so big, the Sorting Hat put her in Waffle House. That's hilarious, Herring. Molly Sue says 4 a.m. is usually when my day starts. Yeah, for most civilized people. I need to hop off myself, sadly. Okay, so here, let's do this then. Let me ask. Would you guys rather we put off more Silverthorn until next week since we ran so late today? Because normally we would be ending right about now. So should we just do some songs and then we'll end and then we'll save Silverthorn for next week since we got major waffle during this time. We had a lot of rants and rambles. My Patronus is a fat Irishman named Conor McFarrow.
Stop it. It is not.
It's just like the astrological sign I was born under was Paddy's Bar and Grill. Alright, let's do songs. We'll do songs. We'll do some music and then we'll head off for the night. Your mama's so big, her boggart was a diet. That's hilarious. Good night, Teresa. My spirit animal is Connor McLeod. Oh, Bear says, please don't put off Silver. What if we do a whole day of Silverthorn on Tuesday? I'm thinking what we might do, just so that we're sure we get to each book, is maybe Tuesdays we'll do Harry Potter and then Thursdays we'll do Silverthorn. Or maybe the other way around. Tuesdays we'll do Silverthorn and Thursdays we'll do Harry Potter. Yeah, because like when we have these days where we end up with long rambles, whatever the second book is ends up being put off. So I think it would be better if we had one book per day rather than split up. So we can have one day be the family-friendly day that people know they can watch with their kids, and then the other day can be whatever our more adult book is. Yeah, because we do end up neglecting the second book quite a bit. So I think that would be the... I mean, I've gone through 66 ounces of water sitting here tonight. So it's... And I'm probably sitting on all of that if we're being honest. Yeah, okay, so then we'll push out. So Tuesday we will do just Silverthorn, because we should be able to get through the rest of the plots chapter, and probably all the way through Revelations, if that's all we're reading on Tuesday. So I think that's fine. It does to a degree, but again, like when we have a book at second, because no matter what, I usually have to be off by 10 p.m. So the only other option is to be on earlier, and we all know how bad I am at being on earlier.
Too much other stuff to do.
Yeah. Okay, so at least for this week, let's try this next week. Let's try one book per day next week and see how well people like that. And if we don't like it, we'll go back to the other way, and I will just endeavor to be on earlier. Bear says he doesn't like that idea at all. Okay, let's try this next week. Let's try this next week, and then you guys can vote on it to decide how we do it from here forward. Because again, I probably wouldn't be able to finish the chapter tonight anyways, because I have to be off in 25 minutes anyhow. So, if we don't like the format from next week, then what we'll do is... if we don't like the format of next week of one book per day, then what I will do is I will force myself in my schedule to be able to get on at 4 rather than, or like 4:30 rather than 6:30. That way we'll have more time to do these things before I have to be off. Because in order for me to end my day properly, I have to have all of my things done by 10 o'clock. So I think that's probably a good idea. And yeah, the rants and rambles do get away. I've been very good. I haven't been rambling as much recently. But yeah, they do kind of become inevitable. Nobody should be on Earl's ear. It's painful and difficult to balance. Okay, alright, let's get some songs. What songs do we want to sing tonight? Till 5:15, okay. So... what if I tried to be on at 5? Pacific Standard Time.
Well, you've been starting at like 6, right?
I've been starting at after 6:30.
I guess you could start earlier. It's just sitting there that long is going to be killing you with the weather changing.
Yeah, that is true. I am dying of the heat right now. Like I might have sweat out enough to create a river, if we're being perfectly honest. Alright, we'll try to start a little. So here's what we'll do. Next week, we're gonna do one book per day, see how we like that. If we don't like that, then we will then go forward with trying to be on earlier. I don't get off work till 5. So we'll try starting at 6 then. I love the rants. I like the idea for next week. Don't rack your head about it too much. Do whatever works for you. Oh, I want to. Obviously, we're not going to make everybody happy. Somebody's going to be upset about it, but I would like to make it as accessible for everybody as is possible. Yeah, Tuesday we'll do Silverthorn. Thursday we'll do Harry Potter, and then after that we'll decide what the new schedule is based on what everybody wants. Based on like what the popular vote is, because yeah, the sitting here for this long is not entirely comfortable. Let's not make unrealistic expectations, okay? I want to give you guys as much as I possibly can, so, and I don't want to take any time away from you guys, to be sure. Okay, so we had, I saw somebody said rye whiskey, somebody said juice of the barley. Oh, those are all you, Lovey. And then Misty Mountain. We can do Misty Mountain. Yeah, we'll do Misty Mountain, and then. So do you want to do rye whiskey and juice of the barley? I think those are good. Mm-hmm. By the way, did you see that Josh Hartnett is now doing movies again?
Really?
Yeah.
Is he still good looking?
Not terrible. Oh, he's obviously older. He's not the young heartthrob he used to be.
Well, of course.
But yeah, he's in a movie where he's on a plane full of assassins and he's like the John Wick style character of the movie. Petro would like for you to sing Savage Daughter. Okay. So let's do rye whiskey first. So for next week, Silverthorn is going to be on Tuesday. Thursday will be Harry Potter. And then on Friday, I will put out a poll to see what everybody wants to do. Stephanie says, whatever you decide, I'm good with. All right, we'll give it a go. So out of the 3 hours, I'd be curious how little time was spent reading today. We probably read for about an hour and 10 minutes to get today in total. Maybe a little bit more than that. Probably about 90 minutes was spent reading out of the 3 hours today. So yeah, normally the 3 hours is generally enough because usually it takes me about 60 minutes to clear 15 or so pages. Yeah, the new movie is called Fight or Flight, correct, Esther. The rants, not counting the breaks, the rants were probably about 60 minutes or so. Tatsamari, many salutations. I came across your channel this past Tuesday. Due to life, I wasn't able to catch tonight's stream in full, but I do plan on catching next Tuesday. Well, Tatsamari, it's absolutely wonderful that you were able to drop in. Thank you for following us. You have now marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back the very next time you desire a story, and we welcome you in. Grateful to have you. My cat's now screaming at me to go to bed. Alright, let's do rye whiskey. And then we will do juice of the barley. And then we will do... Same, whatever works for you works for us. We just appreciate you being here and reading for us. Just remember that it is my absolute pleasure and privilege. Actually, and I know that you guys are grateful for the time the lady and I put in. I just want to make sure that I give you guys as much time that I can. Oh, so it's not just my cat who does that. No, there are actually a plethora of tavern patrons who do that. And yeah, the lady will do Savage Daughter for you guys as well. Right, Tatsamari, welcome. If you don't know, I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. And that's what we just finished doing tonight, and now we're going to do some songs. We don't sing well, but we sing together, and that's a part of it. Can you duet Red is the Rose? Are you feeling up to a duet and a solo, my love?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. She says we'll find out, so we'll see what happens.
Take the shirt
I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. I'll tune up me fiddle and rosin my bow. I make myself welcome wherever I go. Beef sticks when I'm hungry, red booze when I'm dry. Doubloons when I'm hard up, and religion when I die. They say I drink whiskey, my money's my own. And them that don't like me can leave me alone. Sometimes I drink whiskey, sometimes I drink rum. Sometimes I drink brown ale and other times none. When the lady said, "We'll find out," that is my motto in life. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. But if I get boozy, my whiskey's my own. And them that don't like me can leave me alone. Jack of Diamonds, Jack of Daniels, I know you of old. You've robbed me poor pockets of silver and gold. Oh, whiskey, you villain, you've been my downfall. You've kicked me and cuffed me, but I've loved you for all. If the ocean were whiskey and I was a duck, I'd dive to the bottom and drown to get drunk. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. My foot in a stirrup, her scarf in my hand. I pray thee, sweet Lily, she'll find a good man. Her parents don't like me, they say I'm too poor, unfit and unworthy to enter her door. Sweet milk when I'm hungry, rye whiskey when dry. If a tree don't fall on me, I'll live till I die. I'll buy my own whiskey and make my own stew. And when I get drunk, all it's because of you. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. I'll drink my own whiskey and finish your wine. Some 10,000 bottles I've killed in my time. I'm no wife to quarrel, no babies to bowl. I the best way of living's with no wife at all. I'm a colour called mountain, I wander alone. I'm drunk as the devil, oh, leave me alone. You may boast your wisdom and brag of your blood. We'll both be forgotten in the wake of the flood. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If things don't get better, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I sigh. I've run out of rye whiskey, I might as well die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. Thank you, Castle. You and the lady brighten my life, and you brighten ours, Stephanie. It's wonderful to have you. Herring says his motto is, I didn't say that out loud, did I? That is definitely a problem. Definitely something you gotta watch out for. Alright, next we shall have The Juice of the Barley, which is one of my favorite silly drinking songs. And what's funny is that my favorite version of the song is actually by a band called Barley Juice. So it's Juice of the Barley by Barley Juice. In the sweet county Limerick, one cold winter's night, all the turf fires were burning when I saw the lights. And a drunken old midwife went tipsy with joy as she danced round the room with her slip of a boy, singing Banyana Mo if I'm gonna, and the druce of the barley for me. Well, when I was a garson of 8 years or so, with me turf and me primer to school I did go, to a dusty old schoolhouse without any doors, where lay the schoolmaster blind drunk on the floor, singing Banyana Mo if I'm gonna, and the juice of the barley for me. At the learning I want such a genius I'm thinking, but I soon beat the master entirely at drinking, not a wake or a wedding for 10 miles around, but myself in the corner was sure to be found, singing Banyana Mo if I'm gonna, and the juice of the barley for me. One Sunday the priest thread me out from the altar, saying you'll end your days with your neck in a halter, and you'll dance a fine jig between heaven and hell. And his words they did frighten me, truth for to tell, singing Banyana Mo if I'm gonna, and the juice of the barley for me. So the very next morn, as the dawn it did break, I went down to the vestry the pledge for to take, and there in that room sat them priests in a bunch, round a big roaring fire drinking tumblers of punch, singing Banyana Mo is some Ghana, and the juice of the barley for me. Hello, Sea Witch, welcome in, it's good to see you. Well, from that day to this I have wandered alone. I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none, with the sky for me roof and the earth for me floor, and I'll dance out me days drinking whiskey galore, singing Banyana Mo if I'm gonna, and the juice of the barley for me, singing Banyana Mo if I'm gonna, and the juice of the barley for me. Thank you for the song, my friends. Absolutely lovely. Let's go ahead and do. Let's do Red is the Rose. Oh, no, Lovey,
Yes.
would you like to do your solo first? Then I'll do Misty Mountain, and then if you're feeling up to it, we'll do Red is the Rose. Barley juice, yes, sounds like a play on the words Beetlejuice. So barley juice is a very, very Irish way of saying beer. The juice of the barley is beer, and it is a very common ploy to say barley juice as opposed to beer. Now there is such a thing as barley juice, but when we say barley juice, we usually mean beer. There's like a barley tea that you can have. Oh, you meant the band name. I see. Yeah, it does almost sound like that. If they weren't Irish, it might have been. But the Irish think of anything except for our spirits and our food. And our woes. Savage Daughter.
7 drunken nights.
7 drunken nights, yes. Which are all of those things. Our
Yeah.
food, our booze, and our woes. Alright.
You want to take him out?
Sure. Is he being whiny?
He's being a whiny bit.
Being a whiny butt. Alright.
So he needs to go first.
Can you ask nicely before we go? Can you ask nicely? No, that's not nice. That's rude. Well, try again. Try again. Don't look at him, look at me. Don't look at him, look at me. Okay, that's better.
Hey.
Alright, give me just a second, friends. The lady is going to do her solo, and I'm going to take the dog out to use the facilities.
Yeah, yeah.
Slow.
Oh, it's so cool out there.
It is so cool out here. I might live out here from now on.
You're gonna live outside. Alright, let's get through this song real quick. I can see the lyrics because I will forget them. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her omens in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the falling of feathers, in the dancing of fire, in the curve of old bones. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. My mother's child dances in darkness. She sings heathen songs by the light of the moon, and watches the stars and renames the planets, and dreams she can reach them with a song and a broom. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. We are all brought forth out of darkness into this world through blood and through pain, and deep in our bones the old songs are waking, so sing them with voices of thunder and rain. We are our mother's savage daughters, the ones who run barefoot, cursing sharp stones. We are our mother's savage daughters. We will not cut our hair. We will not lower our voice. We are our mother's savage daughters, the ones who run barefoot, cursing sharp stones. We are our mother's savage daughters. We will not cut our hair. We will not lower our voice. There you go.
Wonderful. Thank you, my darling.
What are you doing to my chair exactly?
It's because he thinks you dropped food, that's why he's looking there. Come here, lay down. Cut it off. You must have dropped one little tiny piece of something because...
It's like there might be something hiding in the blanket.
Tatsumari, big claps. Big claps for you.
Big claps.
Big claps. And Bethany says thank you.
You're welcome.
You're, of course, getting standing ovations and all across the board. I assume they're standing ovations. I can't see them.
Just making stuff up now.
No, I know that I stood up, so I assume everybody else, as soon as you were done, stood up and started clapping at their phones.
I don't think so.
Esther says, lovely song, Una, thank you. Alright, we're going to do the short version of Misty Mountains by the version that's done by Peter Hollins. I hadn't heard Una sing it. You hadn't, Herring, that surprises me. But I suppose if you don't drop in on Sundays, and, oh, hang on, we've got ads running on Twitch. Give me just a minute. Didn't realize we were already at that point again.
Whoopsie daisy.
Chrissy says, thank you, Una does that song so well. Well, first she said dies that song so well, but then corrected to does, so. Not to be too blunt, however, to enter her door is the name of the game. I don't remember what we were talking about, but that's very funny, Tyson. I said we as a collective don't sing well. Yes, the Lady Una does sing quite well. I don't sing well, and she doesn't sing, and well, the rest of us don't sing very well. But she's pretty good.
Everything well.
Oh, I doubt that there are probably very few people who can sing everything well. But you do sing well. That's the important bit.
I get frustrated that
Okay.
I can't do the burning glass well because I don't have that range.
You know who does sing well at 3 in the morning in the middle of the night? The cat. Cat's a good singer. I guess
Yeah,
this
but
house has a lot of good singers.
Here, give him to me.
He sings a lot in the middle of the night in the hallway.
Hold still.
Yep.
But he's not. He's just screaming. Like it's not like he yowls.
He meows in certain patterns.
He's like
He's
meow,
just calling.
meow. Open the door, meow.
Meow.
Yeah. This is Boo, by the way, for anyone who hasn't met him.
The fur gremlin.
Yeah. He's got about 2 brain cells, and they're all fighting for 8th place.
Yep.
Killed one of them.
He's got 1 brain cell, and it's fighting for 12th place. He is called Boo. Hey, stop it. See, the funny thing is that he loves to snuggle, but he hates to be picked up. So, like, he will get really upset if you pick him up, but if he wants to jump up on you and lay, totally happy to do that. Good night, Ashley. Thank you for tending the bar for us over on TikTok. Deeply appreciate you. Let's get a big round of applause, virtually speaking, for all of our barmaids and barmen who help to keep everybody entertained and occupied whilst we are busy. Thank you kindly for that. But yes, he's called Boo because he was found in a graveyard with the corpses of his siblings, and the people who had him before us had a sick sense of humor. So he's called Boo. And he's not very bright, but he is very handsome. Same thing for the dog. The dog is not very bright. Will you calm down? The dog is not very bright.
Fur gremlin. Fur gremlin.
I got you. I got you.
So silly.
He's like, I'm not so scared.
All right, let's do Misty Mountain. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find our long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. The wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. their shadows lay, be night or day, and dark things silent crept beneath. The wind went on from west to east, but in the forest all movement ceased, and shrill and harsh across the marsh its whistling voices were released. Farewell we call to earth and home. The wind may blow and rain may fall. We must away ere break of day to far o'er the wood and mountain tall. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to find our long forgotten gold. Val, hello, it's good to see you. Welcome in. Thank you for the heart, me and the roses. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. Thank you kindly. Alright, lovey, feeling up to a duet of Red is the Rose. Castle, thank you for sharing the song. I extend my best wishes for a pleasant evening to you, Una, Everett, and Coda, and Boo the kitty. We appreciate you, Esther. We hope that you, Johnny, and Elsie have a wonderful evening your own self. And I do want to thank everyone who came out tonight, everyone who marked the tavern on the map and followed us. That is absolutely wonderful, and we appreciate it. To everybody who spent their time, to everybody over on TikTok who liked and shared, thank you kindly. It helps to get the taverns out to new folks searching for story magic. And to everyone who either gifts subs or donates, we appreciate you. Erin is currently at the top of the leaderboard over on Twitch. We appreciate you very much for that. And Bear is currently the Starman over on Facebook. So thank you kindly for your contributions, my friends. It means the world. And you are all a part of what makes the tavern spectacular. So let us go ahead and end up with Red is the Rose with the Lady and I for our final song for the night. Diego, thank you for resubbing, brother. It's good to see you. If you have some time tonight, can I steal some? I literally do not have time tonight, but I can try and give you a call tomorrow. As soon as I'm done here, I have to go and record, and then I have to come back down and edit. So I'm going to be running till the end of the night. But I can ring you tomorrow if you like. I'll have a little bit of time in the afternoon after I finish my morning calls. I appreciate you, brother. Alright, let's get some Red is the Rose. Come over the hills, my bonny Irish lass. Come over the hills to your darling. You choose the road, love, and I'll make the vow. And I'll be your true love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder... Love you?
Yeah.
Are you
Sorry.
singing with me?
Yes.
got so engrossed in what she was doing.
Sorry. Yeah.
Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne. But my love is fairer than any. Just a second, friends. You need to get closer, lovely, because they can't hear you over me.
Oh, okay.
So, switch spots.
Come
'Twas down by Killarney's green woods that we strayed, when the moon and the stars, they were shining. The moon, it shone its rays on her locks of golden hair, and she swore she'd be my love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne. But my love is fairer than any. It's not for the parting that my sister pains. It's not for the grief of my mother. It's all for the loss of my bonny Irish lass, that my heart is breaking forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne. But my love is fairer than any.
Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the Boyne. But my love is fairer than any.
Oh, my love is fairer than any. And yes, Tyson, she did already sing it. Oh, can we do Valhalla Calling? Oh, you are beating me up tonight. Val, thank you for the roses. I appreciate you, love. Thank you kindly. Okay, final song. We'll do Valhalla Calling as an end up, because we didn't do 2 books tonight. So final song. No, it's all right. We'll do it. Now, if anybody has never heard this song before, good night, Bethany, rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. I will see you on Tuesday, possibly on Monday, and the lady will for sure see you on Sunday. Okay, if you've never heard this song before, Valhalla Calling is a Viking song, Quarty Fingers, by an artist called The Miracle of Sound. It was made very popular on TikTok over the last few years, and it has many different versions. Now, the version we do here in the Tavern is a little bit different. It is, we sing the verses normally, but then the chorus we do in what is called druid singing or throat singing. And the process. Some people really enjoy it. Some people find it incredibly grating. It does have some adverse side effects to some folk. Some folk find it disrupts their nervous system or causes a shutdown of their lymphatic systems. It has also been known to cause bleeding of the ears and eyes and result in spontaneous pregnancy. The tavern cannot be held responsible for any of these symptoms developing, since you have been warned that listening to it may cause such things to happen. So, with that said, let us sing Valhalla Calling. Thank you for Red is the Rose, beautifully sung indeed. Thank you, Esther. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Ships on the vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fjords and the ice-cold currents, ravens soar over new frontiers. Songs and sagas of a fate determined. Shields and spears. Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, pulled together for the can and kin. Clank of hammers and the crash of thunder. Pound within. Here it comes, plug your ears if you need to. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Sails are swaying on the crimson rivers, blood and glory in the fighting fields. Shields are shattered into splintered timbers, iron and steel. Fires are rising and the bells are ringing. Glory, take us into Odin's halls. Golden glimmer and the sound of singing as God's call. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Thank you for the songs, my friends. Absolutely lovely and always a bloody pleasure to perform and enjoy the evening with all of you. Thank you all for being here, my friends. We absolutely enjoy having you. Ruh dich gut aus und habe eine gute Nacht. Haben Sie einen wunderbaren Nacht, meine Freundin. Tyson, always lovely to have you, my friends. But now, sadly, and Val, thank you for the more roses. I appreciate you. You're now, according to TikTok, top gifter for the evening, so thank you kindly. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. And thank you, my friends, for spending the time with us here tonight. While now we must end, and that is sad, I promise you the doors to the tavern will open again soon for more stories, more whimsy, more magic, and more camaraderie. But until they do, I will thank you all for being here, and I will bid you all that until next time, stay bloodthirsty, and we'll see you then. Good night.